What's up, everyone? Welcome to NFL GrindersLive. I am not Dean 78905 602 377 6011 2. I'm TJ Zwarych. Dean is unable to be here today. We hope everything is all good. He'll, of course, be back with us next week. And so today, you're stuck with me. You got TJ instead of Dean on GrindersLive. You got Britt instead of TJ on Crunch Time. But we still have a great crew carrying you all the way up to lock for the next 3.5 hours. Joining me, as always, on Sunday mornings. Well, not as always for me, because they're not joining me, but they're always here. It's Tim Buell, TastefulTides. How you doing, Tim?
Yeah, I'm doing well, TJ. Thanks for filling in for Dean. Dean is out this week, but, we carry on here on the People's Show. Really interesting week for both cash games and GPPs. Some news that broke. I think it was maybe late last night or early this morning that kind of affected some of the projections. So we'll talk about that. And so excited to break it down with you guys.
Couldn't agree more. This feels like the first week of the season that it's somewhat hard to make lineups. Like it's DraftKings, FanDuel a little bit, but mostly DraftKings has just had these really soft prices through the first 5 weeks of the season. And this kind of feels like the first one that all of a sudden people are probably priced about where they should be. We have Christian McCaffrey and Puka Nacua up nearing that 9K range now. We don't have these plethora of 4K running backs that we want to roll out. So fun slate this week, and helping us break it down as well, we got Bobby Gomes. How you doing, Bobby?
Doing good. Yeah, I guess there was news that broke overnight because I just reran projections and everything looks different. You guys said Quentin Johnson was ruled out. Tim said before the show. I guess that's interesting because I definitely had interest in Justin Herbert coming into the slate. But like you said, it seems like this is the first slate where everyone's pretty much priced efficiently, and it's going to be hard. Tight cap this week. So you might see people funneled to like double tight end builds and flex, etc. and stuff like that. We also have like Puka Nacua, who should be like a cornerstone play like in construction, and then he's got the weather game. So it's like, how do you decipher what do you want to do with that? But yeah, should be an interesting week. Excited to break it down to you guys.
Quentin Johnson's still officially doubtful right now. Not quite ruled all the way out, but not expected to play, as was reported late last night. Kyler Murray, not expected to play. We're looking at Jacoby Brissett as the starting quarterback for the Cardinals today. $4,200 quarterback if you're wanting to get into the punt streets. A lot of, potential trade news dropping right now, but as of now, that's kind of like, I don't think there's a ton we're still waiting for. Jalen Coker got ruled out. He came off the IR, and so people, I think, were expecting him to come play for Carolina today, but he's not going to be getting in there. We have Mac Jones and Juwan Jennings still listed as questionable, but both of them are expected to play. A lot of people out this week still, but having said that, I feel like most of the prices have adjusted. So, Tim, give me the kind of optimal overview of this slate, because this is the first slate of the season. I think that there's not a clear, you have to start here for cash games. Because like we were talking on the Blitz show, and Cardi was talking about Chris Olave is really the only guy you have to play in cash this week. Everything else is kind of up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, compared to last week, like last week was just like so incredibly easy to build a cash game lineup. Like you just plugged in Justin Fields and that was it. This week it's completely different. It's definitely there are like 3 or 4 quarterbacks, maybe even 5 quarterbacks that you could see conceivably play in cash games this week. It's a pretty tough week for cash. So I'm actually kind of excited to see the cards flip over for cash games, even let alone GPPs. I think I'm starting out with Drake May. I think that's going to be my top cash game guy on both FanDuel and DraftKings. 5,900 on DK. Just seems a little bit too cheap. we know these matchups against the Saints are ideal in terms of pace. But going to be playing indoors in a dome. We know that Drake May is a really capable runner, so we have a decent rushing floor with Drake May. So I do think he's my favorite. The other guy that's kind of popping in optimals right now is Trevor Lawrence at 5,100. Again, I mean, we saw his elite playmaking ability against the Chiefs last week. He's really, really cheap. 5.1K is a really nice price tag. So he's currently showing up the most in optimal builds. I get it. I think that's fine if you want to go that way. I wouldn't fault you, but it's certainly. I think I'm going to go Drake May just because I just like that matchup a little bit more. So I think I'm still going to be siding with May there. Daniel Jones at 6K. I think he's a really viable option as well. And then Bryce Young at 4,800 against the I think the worst defense in all football at 4,800. He does not have the rushing upside that Justin Fields has, but that price is so nice at 4.8K. So I think he's a viable play as well. So I don't mind that. And then your spend up option, if you have the salary, I guess would be Justin Herbert at 6,300 against the Dolphins. But I think you should just go down to either Drake May or Trevor Lawrence in cash.
Yeah, crazy week where if you're using the blitz projections right now, Drake May, the highest raw points projected quarterback, Daniel Jones 2, Trevor Lawrence 3. Not typically the top 3 that you usually see, but I agree with you. I think Drake May is going to be the guy that I'm most likely to go with today in my main lineup. I'm not running out of cash lineup, but I do have a single entry and a bunch of small field stuff, and May is going to be the guy that I'm rolling with in that lineup. He is my highest exposed in tournaments as well. Bobby, we were talking pre-show a little bit that your quarterback pool for tournaments, not necessarily like it's going to be low owned. It's got some high upside, but not necessarily something you like looking at.
No, yeah. Spencer Rattler and Geno Smith were following Drake May when I kind of ran everything. So I think like you guys on my main teams, I'll probably have a good bit of Drake May. But yeah, I'm also going to have some Spencer Rattler and Geno Smith too. So that's a little worrisome, I would imagine. I do like the game environment for New Orleans for what it's worth. Like I do think this could be the letdown spot after a big Sunday night win or Monday night win versus the Bills for the Patriots. So I think it was Sunday night, but yeah, so if that is the case, like, I do think New Orleans can push back here, and Rattler's been pretty efficient, even though the record doesn't really show that. I had a lot of Rattler with Juwan Johnson earlier. I don't know if that's kind of changed since I reran stuff. I can check. Yeah, but it was really the first week that I'm like, oh, I might have to play like a Saints quarterback this week. So that was interesting for sure. And then Geno, this Tennessee Titans defense, complete sieve, right? Like they're going to give it up on the ground to guys like Genty. They're going to give it up through the air. Myers, Trey Tucker. I think Mayer's in play in larger field stuff. Is Bowers out or is he in? What's the word on Bowers? I know he's been banged up.
Bowers is out and already expected to be out next week too.
Yeah, so that's probably why I'm starting to get more of this Raiders team, I would imagine. Yeah, those are the 3 that kind of the top of my list, which kind of makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Like Justin Herbert as well. I think he's fine. Yeah, those are like the 4 main ones. Interesting in cash. Like I think, Tim, you said cash is kind of muddled up top. For me, I think it's the best play is probably Drake May.
Yeah,
I'm not really a cash game guy. So yeah.
Chat talking about Bobby being absolutely locked in this morning and extra engaged because he knew without Dean he'd need that extra usage rate. He came up and ready to go.
I was locked in the other night. I was getting killed because I said fade Saquon Barkley and play Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbro ahead of Saquon in captain. as people were hammering me, where's Alex the Great in chat? He isn't. There he is, Alexander the Don. There he is. No.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. You had to have had a pretty good showdown when we were on together.
I had the absolute nuts on showdown. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That high catch was would have been like a 60K swing for me in a good way. So I wish that happened, but it didn't come to fruition at the end.
Still a very nice day on showdown. So congrats to you on that one. And hopefully we'll keep things going today as well. Tim, if quarterback, weirdly enough, you talked about how quarterback is kind of muddled, but it's probably the clearest position of what to do at cash games instead of kind of switching to another, instead of going straight to another position. I do want to know, who are you prioritizing between Christian McCaffrey and Puka Nacua? And is it either of them? Are you getting to either of them in cash today?
Yeah, I think you should be playing one of them in cash. It might be kind of hard to play both, but I mean, there's certainly a case to be made to play both. I certainly wouldn't think it was bad if you found the right value to play both of them in cash games. I think right now I would lean CMC. Granted, it's a horrible spot for rushing, but I mean, just the amount of targets he should get through the air against that pass funnel that already gets torched against receiving running backs. So I mean, this should be a spot, at least on DraftKings, where CMC should have an incredibly high floor just from receptions. So I think in cash games, I would lean CMC over Puka. But I mean, they're both of them have tremendous matchups.
If you are playing CMC, who else is the kind of pool of guys you're choosing between? Because it's ended up getting a little bit more pronounced, but earlier in the week I was looking at ownership at running back and I was kind of shocked because there was nobody over 25%, and then there was 15 guys over 15%. Not necessarily the case now. We have Rico Dowdle projecting for 32%, Rashad White up at 26%. C-Mac is actually the fourth highest owned running back at 24% because we have Javonte Williams kind of getting steamed up throughout the week as well.
Yeah, so I was kind of surprised when Cardi said the only person you should be playing in cash must have is Olave, because the other one for me would be Rico Dowdle. I think he's absolutely got to be part of a cash game core. I think he's a cash game staple today. He's 5,800. Again, we're just going to be streaming players against Dallas all year long. They've proven that they can keep the pace going too on the other side. So I'm not worried about Carolina's lack of pace. So I think Rico Dowdle. Plus, it's revenge narrative. So I really think that Rico Dowdle is basically an absolute must-have in cash games today. Past that, in terms of cash, I guess it's CMC and Dowdle. Other than that, I'm not. It's kind of up in the air in terms of I am going to be playing 3 RBs in cash this week. I think that's what everyone should be doing. It's kind of tough after that. I know that the Blitz absolutely loves Jaylen Warren. I don't think I like that at least as much as the Blitz does. I kind of prefer Rashad White at 6K. I think Kyron Williams is certainly in the conversation. If you have the money, Josh Jacobs at 7,300 is another absolute smash play this week. So, but I do think that you are playing 3 RBs in cash.
I am muted. Chad asking about where the first clue for Superstar Sunday is, and we'll drop it right now. I had to make it on the fly. Admittedly, I made this about 7 minutes before the show because I kind of forgot that was something that I had to do early in the morning. But we do have a Superstar Sunday. One guess per clue. Get them in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chats. If you get it right, you get 1 free week of either RotoGrinders Premium or Scores and Odds. Your choice. And clue number 1 for Superstar Sunday, we're guessing superstars. These are athletes. Is Storm. Clue number 1 is Storm for Superstar Sunday. So get your guesses in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. One guess per clue. We also had a few questions pop up about the weather today, and what Roth did update his weather report this morning. You can follow Kevin Roth on Twitter for his up-to-date changes throughout the day. But having said that, we do have basically just 2 games that we're somewhat worried about. It's going to be raining. It's going to be about 15 to 30 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour winds sustained, and about gusts up to 30 miles an hour, both in Carolina, between Dallas and Carolina, and Baltimore, between the Rams and Baltimore. And so his analysis is that he doesn't really think it's going to impact a ton because it's not crazy weather outside of kickers. Kickers might have themselves a tough day, but outside of that, it's probably not going to change a lot. But it's still Bryce Young in one of those games. So that it's a guy who already can't throw a deep ball. And so rain and wind might impact things a little bit for him.
Who's not going to be affected by this is Rico Dowdle.
No, exactly. Rico Dowdle going to be looking really strong as well. I'm with you. I think Rico Dowdle is still my top running back today. Played today as well. Bobby, when you're playing tournaments today, are you considering this weather at all, or are you basically just ignoring it?
No, I'm considering it. For me, like, I think I would have preferred Puka to if everything was like fine. I would have been more interested in Puka than CMC, but now it just looks like I'm going to play more Christian McCaffrey, I think. Yeah, I think the weather is somewhat of an issue. Has it moved the line at all? It's pretty much what I'd be. Has anything changed in like the over-unders?
I can look at that really quick.
Like that's when I would actually care about it.
Bobby, who are you going to be prioritizing in your lineups today at the running back position? I'm actually playing a guy in one of these weather games. I had said Dowdle might be my top guy. I was wrong. He's my number 2 running back today in terms of my ownership percentage. I'm just playing a ton of Kyron Williams. That is my favorite running back on the board today for tournaments. Who do you plan on kind of prioritizing?
Yeah, so Dowdle and Christian McCaffrey would probably be the 2 that I'm very interested in. My favorite running back on the slate, and definitely in terms of like leverage exposure, would be Quinshon Judkins or whatever his name is. Probably gonna have a ton of him versus Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm just being slammed. Even yesterday when I was running stuff, Quinshon Judkins was getting slammed into my lineup. So at 5,900, like I'm fine with that. Just because like if I look at the chalk, right, there's Rico at 5,800, who's going to be probably the highest owned back in the slate. Then I think Javonte Williams is likely going to be pretty popular at 6,400, and Rachaad White at 6K, who I'm probably totally just being under the field on at this point. Like I'd just rather play Judkins. I feel like their roles similar. And the thing with Judkins is like, yeah, he didn't go out for a pass play last week, but he was pass blocking the entire time. Like he wasn't coming off the field. His ownership is, I would imagine, very, very low. So he's like my leverage play. He's probably my favorite leverage play on the slate. And
What are you doing with Josh Jacobs and CMC, Bobby, and GPPs this week?
Yeah, I'm under on Jacobs pretty much. I'm going to be under, but I'll have some. But like Rachaad White, I think for me is like almost a complete. I'm getting close to like Xing him, which might sound crazy, but I just like Quinshon Judkins better for like the ownership. Like I doubt he's going to be very highly owned. And then CMC, like I'll definitely be playing CMC, but I'm going to be under the field. I don't like between CMC and Puka. I'm kind of confused on what to do because I feel like I should have more CMC than Puka, but I'm currently getting more Puka than CMC. But the weather thing, and I haven't really caught up fully on weather. So
I don't think the weather is going to really affect Puka because Puka's like he's not like a massive ADOT guy. He's just like a super like insane volume type guy. I don't think I don't think this rain is necessarily going to affect his type of targets. So
Yeah.
I'm not really playing into this rain situation at all. It's not, or I should say, it's not affecting any of my decisions today.
Okay, so then I'm fine with Puka ahead of CMC. Like, I didn't really have a feel for that at all, but I trust you. So, yeah, Puka's probably going to be my go-to as, like, in single entry. I'll probably have more Puka than CMC. Like I said, can anyone have any feelings on Judkins? Like, if Judkins isn't going to be owned in, like, this range of, like, chalk running backs, I think I want to slam him.
I think he's a fantastic GPP play.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think you're spot on. He kind of is a really great price point pivot away from guys like Rachaad White. I'm not saying you should pivot away from Rico Dowdle, but he is a pivot off of him. But I think you could play both of those guys together. He's a pivot off of Kyron Williams as well. I do think Judkins is an absolute stud. So getting on him early, I think, is a really, really good strategy today. So Pittsburgh is not the same defense as of old. Like this is like a below average defense now. So I think some people might be scared of attacking the Steelers. They might think that the Steelers are still like a above average or elite defense, which they are not. So I think I really do like the Judkins play quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm pretty much gonna. I think he's the best tournament pivot on the slate for sure.
For me, that's Kyron Williams, but I do think Judkins is going to be probably 8 to 10% lower owned than Kyron Williams today. So I totally get that. And Donnie Watson bringing up what I wanted to talk about next. Apologies if I miss it, but I don't think we've talked about Ashton Genty yet, who is a guy that I thought was earlier in the week going to be pushing 20%. He's actually one of our lower owned options of the top backs today. Tim, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think of Ashton Genty going up against the Titans? I think this is one of my favorite tournament plays on the slate.
Yeah, we've got him tagged by Davis Maddock, Jordan Vanek, and Erik Beimfohr. 3 truly elite experts. I've heard him talked about quite a bit across the industry this week. My only issue is the game environment. That game is probably my least favorite of all the games on the entire slate. That's my only concern. I'm not saying that Genty isn't an elite running back. I'm not saying he's a bad GPP play today. I think I would just put him in the category as he's just not for me because I don't really like that game today. So I think I'm going to take a pass on Genty, but he's definitely getting talked up by some pretty elite people.
Bobby, how about you? How much Genty you get into in your build?
I think it was like right with the field. I'm playing, like I said, the Geno stack, so I think he works. He's been getting more pass game usage. Yeah, I'm fine with Genty and being over the field on Genty, especially like to differentiate Geno stacks. He's also like in a price range at 6,900, which, like, yeah, you're paying up from what I think is. I think him and Kyron are similar plays, like right outside that chalk pricing range, or Kyron's kind of just inside under Javonte Williams at 6,300. But Genty's kind of priced in no man's land, and usually that's the pivot that I would lean to ahead of a guy like Kyron. Just because he might get lost a little bit, but I feel like every show I've listened to, people are touting him, so maybe that's the wrong. I like I said, I like Judkins the best, but that's just me.
Well, we'll talk about other guys when we get into tiers, when we get into stacks, but the last guy I feel like I really want to focus on, because we're projecting 20+% ownership right now, but none of us have talked about him yet, and I really think he ends up getting squeezed in ownership when Christian McCaffrey and Puka Nacua are in the same range. That's Jonathan Taylor. No Arizona. The spread is no Kyler Murray for Arizona. The spread has jumped 3 points in Indianapolis's favor since that news dropped. I think Jonathan Taylor is a really great tournament play today, and I don't really think he's actually going to be 20% owned. What's your JT take today, Bobby?
Yeah, JT. I'm going to be under JT. Not really interested. Do we have? I think Jonathan Taylor is good. What do we have for ownership on JT?
20%, but I think it's going to be closer to 10.
Yeah, maybe get squeezed. I'm not interested in JT at 8,500. I could see him getting squeezed, like you said, just because like Puka's at 8,700, right? McCaffrey's in that range at 84. So yeah, I think the majority of people would rather pay up to those two. So he likely gets squeezed. Maybe he comes in as a good tournament play. I'm not gonna have a ton of him though. I would rather just play McCaffrey. I would rather play Genty for 2K cheaper or whatever. Kyron, like you said. Jacobs for 1,000 less. Like these guys are all more interesting to me than Jonathan Taylor at 8,500.
I do like the idea of like a Jonathan Taylor, Marvin Harrison Jr. mini stack today, but we'll talk about that more in the stack portion. Tim, how about you? Any JT?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a fantastic play. I think I don't think I'd be playing him in a 3-max setting, but I mean, if people want to go there as a pivot off of CMC, I think that's okay. I just really like CMC's reception upside this week. So I mean, I think if he can find the end zone, he's going to be looking at 30 plus fantasy points today. So I'm just not going to pass that up.
Wide receiver is a wild position this week because there is just so many good plays. I think one of the reasons I'm under on Puka Nacua is just because I want to play JSN and Emeka Egbuka even more. Like those 3 top options to me are by far the favorites, but I am really high on Emeka Egbuka and Jackson Smith and Jigba this week. Mid-tier, Tim, I think from a cash game setting, you're going to be looking at guys like Chris Olave and Stephon Diggs in the mid-tier. But you're the one to tell us the real expert analysis there. So what are you planning on doing wide receiver at cash?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely starting off with Chris Olave at 5,100. I don't know if I would have him quite as projected as size Blitz does, but I do really like him in cash games today. So Olave is, I think, your first click. And then depending on what you want to do with the rest of your team, if you have the salary, it's obviously Puka Nacua. If you don't quite have that, then JSN is a really nice pivot at 7,600. So those two, Olave, Nacua, JSN, Stephon Diggs is fine as well. But the other guy that I would like to talk about is Kendrick Bourne at 5K. I think he's a really interesting play today. He might not make the cash game build, but I think he's super close. Even with Drawn Jennings expected to play, I think Bourne is a fantastic play, and I think he's got a pretty decent floor. So if you wanted to just live in the mid-range today at wide receiver and pay up at running back, I think getting to like Olave and Bourne on a team, I think is really strong. So I don't mind him really in any format. And then I think we got to talk about Tet McMillan as well at 6K. So I think he's definitely in the cash game conversation as well. So if you have the extra money, if you have that $200 over Diggs, I think I like McMillan a little bit more in cash than Diggs, but it's super close.
Bobby, it's changed a little bit throughout the week, but earlier in the week, Chris Olave was the highest owned projected receiver on the slate. Now he's dropped to like 4th or 5th. And Rashid Shaheed was projecting for like 1 or 2% ownership. He's gotten steamed up a little bit. He's projecting at about 5 now, might end up being a little bit higher. But I still think Shaheed over Olave is my favorite tournament pivot on the slate. Shaheed's my 5 highest owned receiver in 20 lineups. Who are you prioritizing for tournaments?
How about Juwan Johnson over both of them? I think Juwan's my favorite in that offense today. I know Taysom Hill's back though, so that probably muddles stuff up. Favorite receiver for tournaments? I didn't play a ton of Jacoby last week. I feel like I could get to him this week. 5,800 for Jacoby Myers. I don't think he's going to be very highly owned. You're removing Brock Bowers.
Yeah, he killed everybody last week. So
can I just
no
say
one's
something?
Don't want to touch him this week. The two TDs are coming.
Can I just say something though, really quick about Myers? Is that he's currently in the blitz optimal. So I mean is going to drive up ownership because
He always is.
No,
Yeah,
I know, but I mean,
in the blitz
I don't think he's going to be. I mean, we currently have him at 4%. I think he's going to be a little bit higher than that.
So if he gets to 10, I can still play him at 40 and be overweight, right?
Oh, easily. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to be like mega chalk, but I think he's going to be a little bit higher than what we currently have him.
Donnie in chat saying, TJ, say the Reeves stat you want to. I've been referencing it on shows all week. Shout out to our guy Rich Rebar Lord Reeves over on the Pick Six show, Sharp Football Analysis. I gotta scroll to find it here quick, but against zone coverage this year, Rashid Shaheed has a 12.5% target rate against zone. Against man, Rashid Shaheed has a 36% target rate. And they're playing against the Patriots today, who run the 6th most man coverage in the league so far, even more when Christian Gonzalez plays, which we don't know the answer yet. And so this just feels like an absolute Rashid Shaheed day. I think he's going to be going crazy. Outside,
I have an interesting take on all this, like formations and how people line up. Like I remember like a year and a half ago when this wasn't a thing at all and people just didn't care about it, and it seems like it's changed throughout the industry to now where it's like something that people actually think is important. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like, I think it's important. I don't really know, like, what are your feelings on it? Does anyone, I've always thought it was important, but I just don't know how to like really quantify it. Like, how do you guys kind of quantify that stuff? Because I'm not getting any Shaheed in my projections at all.
I quantify it pretty heavily because it's just like, it's how do people do against specific defenses is really all it is.
Yeah, but wouldn't the projection already like incorporate that? No.
I don't know how much of an input that would actually be in a specific projection.
Yeah, so that's what I always
that might go into like a manual, update or whatever.
I would love to know like how these sites, when they make projections, weigh that sort of thing, because I know it'd probably be pretty difficult to put it in, or you boost it, but then it's like a manual boost. You're gonna rely on. So I don't know.
Well, and I also think it impacts probably like.
I think I've always thought, for one, I've always thought it was important. I just don't know how to quantify it. Like I don't.
I think it probably impacts ceiling more than median projection, even because like. If Shaheed is going to see a lot of man coverage, really what that does is just make it a little bit more likely that he happens to hit a long one because he'll get 2 more shots at it than he usually does, kind of thing. It's not like it, like he sees a ton of targets against man, but the Patriots still are among the most man coverage in the league, and it's still less than 40%. So like that's why I don't think it impacts the median projection a ton, because this is still only 40% of the plays, but I do think it adjusts the ceiling of how potential likely it is a player could catch a bomb, that kind of thing. Another Rich Rebar stat this week that made me really like Kyron Williams is that Baltimore is averaging over 8 yards a carry against them on outside zone runs this year, and that's what Kyron Williams runs the most. That's his most used play type, and so really, really like both of those guys today. And shout out to my guy Rick for pulling those stats.
And I also think it matters also if Christian Gonzalez is playing.
I kind of like him. Like I almost like him more if Gonzalez plays, actually.
Okay.
It means
I'm going to be perfectly honest.
More man, and it also I don't know if he follows, but I feel like he's going to get a ton of Chris Olave.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be perfectly. This is probably a really bad take. I think Gonzalez stinks.
He hasn't looked great this year. Now that could be because of the injury, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Like this year, he hasn't looked very good.
He's only played one game, though.
Yeah. Are you guys doing any punting at the wide receiver position today? We got guys like Sterling Shepard, Dontavian Wicks, Tez Johnson, the Dallas guys, Tolbert and Flanoy. I don't hate the idea of some Isaiah Bond against Pittsburgh today. You guys go into any receivers sub 4K?
I don't think I am. I think Tolbert would be my favorite if I had to pick one at 3,500. I don't mind the Flournoy call either. I think that's solid. Either one of those guys I think are fine. But actually, like, specifically under 4K, I don't have any in my 3 max pool.
How about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I don't think I have a ton either. Just trying to look, but everything keeps messing up for me right now.
Tez Johnson at 3,200.
Yeah, Tez Johnson's probably the
Tez
one.
Johnson, I think he's a decent large field GPP play, but again, not something I'm getting in 3 max. But I think Tez Johnson is interesting today.
This is probably more, the GPP Final Takes crew conversation, but I do think it puts guys like, as B is mentioning in chat, somebody like a Trey Harris may be coming into play without Quentin Johnson. But for me, we didn't really talk about it. This upgrades Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen a ton. Like, I feel like I probably want to play McConkey in cash now, Tim. I
think he's super close.
I guess now if I'm choosing between Diggs, McConkey, and Ted McMillan, or Myers, I think McConkey gets that edge now.
McConkey to me is the best, I think. Just my opinion.
That's where I think
I guess it's super close. I definitely like McConkey better than Myers and Diggs. Maybe because of this weather is a little bit sketchy with Carolina. Maybe Ladd is better than Tet. I really like Tet today. I was hoping people would play, Myers and Diggs, and then I would play Tet, but Ladd's probably a better play, probably safer, and he's $300 cheaper. So I think Ladd's probably a better cash game play than Tet.
Pick one for raw points: Tez Johnson or Sterling Shepard.
I'd go Tez.
Bobby?
I go Sterling. Oh my God.
I go like Sterling there too. Zidiot in chat asking about Vidal or Haskins. We did just get a report that Haskins is expected to be the lead back today. So if you are playing one of those guys, I would prioritize Haskins over Vidal, but I'm not getting to either of them today. He says they're both min price over at Yahoo. They're min price on DK too, I believe. I don't think I'm going
to. Aren't they 4K? They're not min on. What's that?
Are they not 4K?
Haskins is 5K.
Oh, then definitely not on.
Yeah, DraftKings. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was just gonna say, if Haskins was 4K, it'd be a completely different conversation. Yeah. But at 5K, I don't think so. I
minimum price on Yahoo, maybe. I don't know. I haven't looked over there on Yahoo, but maybe that is a little bit interesting. But I still feel like I'm probably not getting there. Tight end position, we've talked about it a little bit. Tim, give me your cash tight end, and then I feel like we can basically just swap over into some tiers.
Yeah, so tight end is really, really strong today. There's a lot of different directions that you could potentially go. I'm looking at Michael Mayer at 3,100. Again, though, like that game, I don't really love. So I don't know, but it's just his price is so good. So 3,100 for him. If you have all the money, Trey McBride is completely fine at 5,500. Tucker Kraft at 4,700, I think are all really, really strong plays. If you really just want to completely punt the position, Hunter Long at 2,500 at the Stone Min, I think
that's what I was going to say. If I'm punting,
I
like Long better than Meyer.
Yeah, really? Okay, yeah. I mean, there's definitely there's a case to be made to just save that $600 and just go Hunter Long. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I currently have Michael Mayer, but I might swap that. It's looking like Mayer or Long for me. And then your spend ups are McBride or Kraft, in my opinion.
It's a big Jake Ferguson week for me today. In week 6, Bobby, who's your highest on tight end going to be?
Probably Juwan Johnson and Michael Mayer. I think those two guys are guys I'm going to try to get over on. Fine with Trey McBride, Hunter Henry. I think Gadsden opens up here a little bit with Quentin Johnson out. Those would be like the main guys for me.
All right, let's drop clue 2 for Superstar Sunday. I've been kind of slow on them, but that's all right. We're still going to get the 5 clues out before we get to the end of the show. Still 45 minutes before the GPP Final Takes crew comes in here. So clue number 2 for Superstar Sunday. Number 1 is Storm. Number 2 is Switch. Switch is clue number 2 for Superstar Sunday. So get your guesses into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chats. 1 guess per clue. If you win, you get 1 free week of either RotoGrinders Premium or Scores and Odds, your choice. And if you don't win, but you still want some access, you don't got to pay for the full week if you don't want. You don't got to pay for a full subscription if you don't want to. You can check out the 3-day pass now for a limited time here at RotoGrinders. It is only $9.99. And so make sure you check out the 3-day pass. You get access to SimLabs. You get access to Lineup HQ, all the projections, all the articles, all the good stuff, projected ownership. You get SimLabs. It's the easiest way to build smart competitive lineups in just a few clicks. All that for only $9.99. So don't miss your chance to get a serious edge this week. Get yourself a 3-day pass. If you get it today, you get yourself some Monday Night Football access. You can start prepping for the NBA season. Tim, NHL is in full force. How's NHL been going so far?
It's been going absolutely awesome. We had a really, really good night in the Discord last night. It's been a really good year so far.
Heck yeah, love to hear it. I haven't played any yet, but I feel like maybe this week is when I'm going to start getting on the NHL train a little bit because I do really, really enjoy it. I feel like it's a sport that people have adapted to the slowest. You know, like we have a really great projections team and team in the Discord. There are a couple other places that have some good stuff, but people don't even stack all that often in NHL yet. Like you just see a bunch of random lineups in there that have just conglomerates of different players splashed on there. And so NHL kind of feels like the one where, 5-10 years ago, people were starting to realize, wait, do I stack in football? And I don't know that people are fully realized that yet in NHL yet. So I do love getting to some NHL. Check out the 3-day pass. You get access to that. Or you can check out Combo Pro if you want access to NHL as well. Only $5 more than NFL. If you're listening to this show, we know you're playing NFL. Might as well get more with Combo Pro. Only $5 more for your first month. $79.99. Don't pass up this elite value. Tim, why don't you give us kind of a recap of the cash game staples as I put together my board here?
Okay, so cash game staples for me, quarterback's kind of wide open. I think Drake May is the right play. If you want to go down to Trevor Lawrence at 5,100, I don't hate that. But a staple for me is definitely going to be Rico Dowdle. 100% should be in your cash games today. I think CMC should also be in your cash games today as well. So those two guys, Chris Olave, I think should definitely be in your cash games as well. I think that's a pretty good staple of guys there. JSN or Puka, depending on what you're doing, the rest of your team should also be in your cash game team.
All right, Bobby, how about you? Who are the highest owned options in your tournament build today, and who are you going to be prioritizing?
Yeah, so I'm kind of with Tim on Drake May at the QB position, but knowing that he's probably going to be the chalk QB, I'm probably going to go to some Geno a good bit, some Spencer Rattler. It's tough. Jordan Love, I think, makes a good bit of sense. Mac Jones. These would be like my 4 favorite. And then I'd probably get to May in tournaments and higher stakes stuff. Like I'll probably have no issue playing May ahead of some of those guys, but definitely in the large field stuff, I'm going to be playing some names that I'm either going to be closing my computer pretty early on Sunday or or it could be a good day. Who knows? Don't mind Herbert as well. I think Bryce Young was someone at 4,800 who everyone was kind of looking into. I think I prefer like Rattler over him just because like you might get less ownership there. And I think when we flip it all over, Bryce Young comes in around 10%, which is like weird to say, I guess, but it's a good game environment. Maybe I'm totally wrong there. What do we have for Bryce Young?
For ownership, right around 5%.
Oh, so maybe he doesn't come in that high.
I don't think Bryce Young's not going to be chalky.
He's not going to be chalky.
No, I don't think so, Bobby.
All right, no, that's fine. Then I'll play him more. Darnold 5,400, like Darnold JSN stacks a good bit. So those are like my favorite QBs, like the top 2, 3, 4, 5, about 8 quarterbacks I'm going to play.
Some good guesses in the Discord chat for Superstar Sunday, but no right answers yet. We got Breonna Stewart, Kyle Raleigh, Adrian Peterson, Ken Griffey Jr., Kevin Durant, Mickey Mantle. None of those, but I see where you're going with the switch guesses, throwing a lot of switch hitters in there, but no winner yet for Superstar Sunday. Let's go ahead and drop clue number 3, kind of close to clue number 2, but that's all right. Clue number 3, we are dropping it, and I just got to go and double check my notes to make sure I got it right. Yes, clue number 3 is unique times 2.
Unique New York.
Unique New York. Unique New York. Ow now, brown cow. Unique times 2 is clue number 3. So we have Storm, Switch, unique times 2. It's a superstar. Tim, Bobby, you want your guesses? Get them in the private chat. Don't say them out loud, but throw them in the private chat.
There's no way I'd get this even if I said it out loud.
It's a superstar. You know, it's not like it's a movies or something. You don't have to worry if we're in the same genre. You guys might be able to get it. But let's switch over to talking about some tiers here. Let's rank some stacks. Play the game. I'll be the tiebreaker.
Just to know this for my own. I need to know this for myself. How long did it take you to come up with these clues? Because I always wonder, like, does Dean sit at his computer all day and like think about these clues all day?
So this is one of the reasons I actually had a late start to the show today, is because I kind of lost track of time. But I started this about 10 minutes before the show.
So you didn't put much time into it. I feel like Dean puts like a ton of time into it. Like he gets gratification out of stumping the hosts and the chat for whatever reason.
Yeah. This was about like maybe 4 to 5 minutes on the clues, a couple minutes on the tiers, but I couldn't think of a good tier idea today, so I just decided I would do some NFL power rankings, and that's what I figured I'd throw up there. And so I do want to ask both of you before I put them up on the board, who would you rank 1 based on everything you've seen, every game you've seen so far? Who would be your power ranking as the best team in the NFL right now? I'll throw it to you first, Bobby.
Best team in the NFL? Oh, I think it's like in flux. Like I think San Fran and the Chiefs are just going to benefit from Rashee Rice being out and then the San Fran getting everyone back. Right now, I'd say it's like Green Bay probably for me, but I mean, they're rushing 4 all the time, and they're getting significant pressure, and their defense is great. The offense, they can spread it around everywhere. But I think San Fran and KC are going to make late season charges, and I think that could be the Super Bowl.
I think the
Lions. I'm on actually a team in the same division as who I think is the top option right now. A team that lost in Green Bay. I think the Lions are the ones that look the best right now.
That's what I thought was the Lions.
ESPN power ranking, I think the Lions are 1, right? I just don't. I still don't trust
Goff.
Like, yeah, it's weird. Goff and the head coach there, like he's just super emotional in the playoffs. I think you kind of have to reel it in a bit. What if he makes it? He's been pretty accurate on like, I think he had a 4th down call versus Baltimore. It was like it was a slot fade to Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown. It was a fantastic play call. But I wonder, like when the games get tighter, does making like risky decisions help you? And I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Where I think like the best coaching is Andy Reid and Spags and KC, and then Kyle Shanahan with San Fran. Like San Fran's 4-1 with a skeleton crew right now. Right. So
very true. Very true. I decided to throw out the Lions as number 1, Bills number 2, Buccaneers as like the tier 3. Not necessarily the best, like the 3rd best team, but they're playing great. I don't know that they have what it takes to win a Super Bowl, but they're kind of in that next tier below. Eagles at number 4. They started out looking good from a win perspective, but that offense is just horrific until they start doing something that's not a high school level offense. Like they got to move people around. They got to adjust something because they are looking really, really bad. And then last, the only 0-5 team in the league, Jets. Titans and Saints won last week. Jets are the only team that has not had a victory yet, so I got them all the way down at the bottom. Let's get right into it. I will go to Tim first, then Bobby. Tim, as the returning champion, you get the first pick. We have the Rams. We have Baltimore. Some potential weather in this one. No Lamar Jackson. Zay Flowers on a pitch count. The entire team, the entire defense basically hurts. What are you doing with where are you putting the Rams? Where are you putting the Ravens?
The Ravens can go right in the Jets here. I think that's a pretty easy one. I'm not going to get any exposure to the Ravens today. The Rams, it's kind of between Lions and Bills for me. The reason I'm going to put them in the Bills tier is just because I don't think they can get pushed. So I'm really, really worried that this game is going to get out of hand. And so for that reason, I'm going to keep the Rams out of the very, very top tier. But I still think they're a fantastic play today. Whether you get exposure to Puka or Kyron, I could see maybe getting to some Stafford stacks. But I'm a little bit worried about this team getting pushed. So, the Rams are in the Bills tier just because this Ravens defense is so depleted and so bad in its current state.
How about you, Bobby? Where are you putting the Rams? Where are you putting the Ravens?
The only difference is I'd probably have the Ravens and Eagles because I do like Derrick Henry today. Like 3% ownership for Henry. It's starting to get cold out. If you do think they're going to get pushed, the Rams, they're chasing Henry. Henry's not going to be owned. Like for me, I just put the Ravens and the Eagles, and it would be only Henry that I'd have interest in.
And then what about the Rams?
It's just like the same analysis as Tim. Like I love Puka. I think the passing game is pretty good. I do think in some instances they do have to chase Henry. So yeah, they're fine in Bills.
I will drop Ravens back down to Jets.
Even with the weather, if the rain.
I mean, Henry's not enough for a stack
Henry's
for
like
me,
this
right?
easy tackle in the
A
rain.
stack is at least 2 players.
What?
A stack is at least 2 players. Henry's
No,
just a guy,
there is 2 plays. I can run Henry and then I can run. You just like
With
power the
that
Kyron
side.
side because Rich Rebar told you it was the right play. I like.
I don't know. I don't like Henry enough to do it. Only 6,200. I get it, but I can't do
Henry
it.
to me is a better running back than Kyron Williams. Like, I'm sorry. I'd rather just take my chances at it at 3%.
I mean, maybe.
Like, I'm going to have more
Rams
Kyron today, but I think
a lot better than the Ravens offense.
So I'm going to have more Kyron today. I am going to have more Kyron. But what I'm saying is, if no one's going to play Henry at 3%, and you want this game to be, you want to see like a Henry Puka, Henry Adams like mini, like I think that's perfectly fine. Just writing off the Ravens completely, I think you can put, just because Henry's there, I think at that ownership, I think you can put him in Eagles.
I think they're going to score like.
I'm going to lose it. I feel like I'm already off on the wrong foot.
That's my hot take. Is I don't think the Ravens score double-digit points today. I think it's going to be in the single digits.
All right.
Next one though, you got the choice for this
for Henry. Great weather for Henry, right? Just saying.
Dallas, Carolina, games in Carolina. Dallas favored by 3. It's another game with some weather. Bobby, you're up first. Where do you got the Cowboys? Where do you have the Panthers?
Yeah, I don't like Dallas, which is going to make me lose here because everyone's on the Ferguson train. I'm putting Dallas and the Eagles. I just don't have a ton of interest. I know Flournoy's there. Pickens, have fun. Ferguson, Dak. I'm not doing it. And then Carolina. I like Carolina. Do they make like the Bills tier for me? It's kind of fringy. Maybe the last team in the Bills tier. Bryce Young to Tet. Rico's someone like I'm trying to get to a ton. like Tim. So we can put them in the Bills tier, but they're not like my favorite team in the Bills stack. Like they're on the fringe of being in the Buccaneers situation. So yeah, Buccaneers tier. So yeah, Panthers in Bills, I guess.
All right, Tim, how about you? Where do you got the Panthers? Where do you got the Cowboys?
I'm putting both of these teams in the top tier, both of these teams in the Lions tier. This is one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite game of the week. I know it's going to be popular, but I'm getting, similar to Jets Dallas last week. I really do like multiple pieces of both of these teams. I think you could stack this game multiple ways. So really, for me, this is both Lions tier.
I can't wait to fade Ferguson if he's going to be this chalky.
I mean, is he that chalky? He's projected to be the 4th highest owned tight end right now.
All I've heard is Ferguson all week. Get Ferguson.
It's just
tight end is
McBride, and so I feel like a lot of tight ends are going to McBride. And then Warren is now cheaper. He's projected for higher owned. Tucker Kraft, people are really excited to go to today. So I don't know. I feel like those guys are all just kind of be in the 10 to 15% range, and nobody's really going to go crazy.
Have fun with Dallas, guys. Have fun with Dallas.
This is tough because I don't agree with Dallas in the top tier, but I definitely don't agree with Dallas in the Eagles tier. And so I'm
just make your own call here.
I can't. I'm limited to the 2 spots, and so I'll keep the Lions and the Dallas up top and give that to Tim just because I'm closer to the Dallas at top than at the Eagles. But I want to bump the Panthers down. I just can't put a full Panthers stack up top. I like Dowdle. I don't really like anybody else. So 1-1 on this one. Bobby gets the Panthers side. Tim gets the Cowboys side.
How do we score that? We can't score that.
Well, you won Panthers. Tim won Cowboys.
Okay.
Next game on the slate, we have Arizona at Indy. This is where things get interesting. I think Indy might be my favorite, like, low-owned defense on the slate today. And maybe they pick up some steam because of the Jacoby Brissett thing. But, I mean, how much worse is Brissett than Kyler Murray anyways? But I do like Indy's defense today quite a bit. On a side note, but Tim, starting with you, where do you got the Colts? Where do you have the Cardinals?
I'm going to put the Cardinals in the Eagles tier. I think Jacoby Brissett might be a small net positive for some of these Cardinals pass catchers, but I still don't have a ton of faith in him, and I really do like the Colts D today. So Cardinals go in the Eagles tier. Colts, I agree with TJ. I think they're kind of a sneaky upside, lower owned. But I think they have to fall below that Dallas Carolina game for me. They also fall a little bit below the Rams overall. So I'm going to put the Colts in the Buccaneer tier.
Bobby, how about you? Colts and Cardinals, where do you got these guys?
I'm with Tim on the Colts, just right in the Buccaneers tier. No one really stands out for me in that offense. Like, I know people are going to make the case for JT. That's fine. Wide receivers from the Colts, I don't really have interest in a ton of them trying to get overweight on them. Yeah, and Bucks are fine. Like, they're just like a fine play, but they're not. I don't love them. In Arizona, outside of McBride, I have pretty much zero interest in Arizona. I would put Arizona for like saying stacks and stuff like that, like in the Jets. They have no interest in Arizona. I don't even love McBride because there's like 100 tight ends that I could play other than him for cheaper.
I am unfortunately extending the lead for Tim. I always feel bad. Bobby makes me feel bad about it. But I like the Cardinals a little bit more than Jets today just because Brissett's so cheap. I do think Marvin Harrison's so cheap. So I do think the Brissett, Marvin Harrison, and then you can throw McBride in there too. I have one of those in my 20 entry lineup set, so I can't have them in the Jets. Because I am playing a Cardinal stack today. So we're at a 3-1 lead for Tim. It's early, but
you guys don't realize this, but I'm actually winning this game by losing. Just letting you know.
We'll see. We'll see. We have Seattle and Jacksonville, Bobby. Where do you got them?
Seattle. I think Seattle, I like Darnold to JSN. I would put Seattle in the Buccaneers tier because that's mainly the extent of my interest is like that Darnold's a JSN stack. And then for Jacksonville, I'm going to put the Jacksonville and the Bills tier. Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, I guess Hunter Long. I'm not really getting to Hunter Long, but obviously he's cheap. There's just a million tight ends. But I like Lawrence to Brian Thomas. So yeah, Bills tier. I think they're
where do you Seattle? Sorry?
Seattle would be in the Bucs tier for me.
All right, Tim, give us the counter. Where do you have the Bills and the Bucs? Or sorry, where do you have the Jaguars and the Seahawks?
I do like the Jags in the Bills tier. I like getting to some Lawrence doubles in GPPs, and I think you can do it pretty cheaply if you include Hunter Long in there, who I do think is viable at the Stone Min today. So I do like Jacksonville and the Bills tier. I'm going to bump down Seattle 1. I guess I'm just not as high on them as Bobby is. I don't think they're horrible. Sam Darnold has shown pretty elite upside. I don't really love this matchup though, so I'm gonna go down up at the Seattle and the Eagles tier.
Tim, how much is Bam Knight on DraftKings?
Don't burn your money.
4,300.
Bam Knight will start over Michael Carter this week.
Oh.
That was unexpected.
Did he score last week or 2 weeks ago?
He did score.
He did, yeah. Yeah, he did.
And I was watching Red Zone. I was like, who was Bam Knight?
What do we think?
Yeah, that's going to change a lot. That might change the whole at 4,300 cash construction is probably going to change a little bit. Do we think he gets all the? No, they're still going to work in.
I'm going to wait to see what the projections team says about that. I think we just it's kind of a purely speculative thing right now. It's interesting though. 4,300 running back is so loaded though.
I don't know if it's necessarily DFS viable, but that's a good point from It's Me Breezy. This could potentially be a situation now where Michael Carter just gets the pass down work and Demercado roll, and they have Demercado be inactive. I could absolutely see that be a case in this one. That is either way, that was enough to in season long make me start Haskins over Michael Carter at a flex spot this week in my deep league. That's kind of how I'm handling it, but I don't think I play any in DFS. We got Bobby coming back. Buccaneer. I'm putting Seahawks back up into the Buccaneers tier. I really like some Sam Darnold and JSN today. I'm probably just doing the single stack, which is rare for me. I usually do a double, but or even a triple. But I do like Seattle today as a very, very low owned team, and so Seattle up in the Buccaneers tier. Bobby regains some ground. 3-2 lead for Tim, but Bobby's back in the game. Chargers.
I think Bobby. I think it's Bobby. I think he makes a really good point. Why are they just starting Demercado?
Because he did the fumble at the goal line thing.
Demercado and AD Mitchell together.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Load those guys up. Oh God, the Demercado.
I like Demercado. I don't know. Whatever. He's a good showdown. Whenever.
I had a friend who had a 25-1 touchdown parlay that the only one that didn't hit in that game was Demercado. And so he was devastated. So that one didn't hurt me, but the AD Mitchell one absolutely crushed my soul. Because that one held me back from a pretty big day 2 weeks ago. Let's drop clue number 4 for Superstar Sunday. We don't have any correct guesses yet. It is not Deion Sanders. It is not Travis Hunter. Not Chase Brown, Halliburton, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. Clue number 4 is special. Special is clue number 4. So we have Storm, Switch, Unique, and Special. for clue number 4. Get your guesses into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. 1 guess per clue. If you get it right, you get 1 free week of RotoGrinders Premium or Scores and Odds, your call. Tim, throwing this one to you first. We have the Chargers and the Dolphins. Where you got these two teams?
Yeah, I think the Chargers are a pretty strong play today. I do like getting to Herbert doubles. I think you can do it pretty easily. This Dolphins defense is atrocious. So I think this passing attack for the Chargers is going to be alive and well. Who knows what's going to happen in that backfield? I'm hoping Herbert just wants to take over, and we've seen Herbert rush the ball at times. So I think this Chargers passing attack is really, really solid. So I'm going to put the Chargers in the Bills tier, and then Miami. Man, it's tough. I don't really like Waddle this week. I think you could run back some Herbert doubles with A-Chain, but I don't really love Miami this week. I think I'm going to put Miami in the Eagles tier.
Miami in the Eagles, Chargers in the Bills. Where do you got these guys, Bobby?
I'm in lockstep with Tim. I do like Waddle for what it's worth. It's 6,100. Maybe it's Chasey. I think he comes in under 10%. Like, he's seen elite usage when Tyreek's been out previously. He would be my favorite Dolphin to get leverage on. Yeah, and then for the Chargers, like Herbert to McConkey, I think is great. Probably my favorite way to do it. Obviously, Chargers doubles with Allen. I think Gadsden's in play a little bit. It's mainly it though, but yeah, Bills tier for the Chargers.
And then you had Dolphins and Eagles as well?
Yeah.
Nothing to change for me, but for what it's worth, I think I agree with both of you guys. I like the Waddle-Waller side, I think, a little bit more, but I don't think I'd be bumping them up above Eagles. I'm more interested in playing those guys in Chargers stacks than I am with like alongside Tua Tagovailoa or anything like that. Cleveland at Pittsburgh, Bobby, should probably be a pretty ugly game. Maybe interest in some defenses in this one, but I don't want to lead the witness. Where you got Cleveland and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, getting very little Pittsburgh. Like, I like some of the pieces, but as a stack, like, really not interested. Because I like the pieces and guys like, I did like Warren more yesterday. I like Metcalf a little bit. Metcalf would probably be my favorite, but it's nothing I'm in love with. Put Pitt in the Eagles tier. Cleveland, like, Judkins is probably my favorite tournament play on the entire slate. We're close to it at the running back position. But I don't, like, from a stacking perspective, I don't think you want 2 guys from this game on your team. So, like, you can just throw them in Jets because I don't think game stacks are really viable. Minis, stuff like that. I just like Judkins as a one-off.
Tim, Steelers and Eagles, Browns and Jets. Where do you got them?
Yeah, in terms of stacking, I really don't have any interest in this game. It has a 37-point implied team total. Jaylen Warren projects pretty well in the blitz. We talked about Judkins earlier. I do like him for GPPs, but really I don't have anything to change from what Bobby put down. Very, very, very little interest in either of these teams in terms of stacks.
All right, we'll leave them where they are then. 3-2 remains, no adjustments. Tim playing it safe. And we got Tennessee and Vegas in this next one, Tim. Where are you ranking the Titans and the Raiders?
Titans and Raiders. Outside of Genty, I guess, in large field stuff, I don't have really any interest in this game. Michael Mayer, I guess, is like a value cash game type tight end, but I'm not getting to any Geno. So both of these teams are in the Jets tier for me. I have real concerns about this overall game, so they're both in Jets tier for me.
All right, Bobby, This might be the spot. I know because
it
you're
is
getting
the
some
spot.
Geno Smith, so you're either going further behind or tying things up here. Where you got the Raiders and the Titans?
Titans are staying in Jets, but the Raiders are going all the way up to Lions. All the way up to Lions. Jacoby Myers, I think, is an interesting flop lag, especially busting for everyone as like chalk and like the cash game piece last week. Play some Michael Mayer. I think Ashton Genty is very much in play. I love Geno, like I said. This Tennessee Titans defense isn't great. So yeah, I'm gonna go Raiders and Lions. All right, crucify me, TJ. I know.
Well,
It's
this
coming.
is tough because it's a tier 5 and a tier 1. And for me, they're a tier 3. And so
Are we splitting again?
I don't know. Like I said, I couldn't break the rules with the Cowboys, and I gave Tim the point. And so I think I got to say I can't break the rules with the Raiders and give the point to Bobby on this one because I like them more than the Jets. I don't like them in the Lions tier. They'd be tier 3 for me. But if I'm not allowed to change and I'm only allowed to tie break, I guess that's what we're gonna do. And so we're dropping the Raiders in tier 1, which feels absolutely freaking wild. But I do like Genty. I don't mind Mayer. I don't mind Myers. But I am going to have a lot of Ashton Genty today. Next one for you, Bobby. We got the Bengals and the Green Bay Packers, 14.5-point spread in this one. Where do you got the Pack? Where do you got the Bengals?
You skipped a pretty important game, TJ.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I did. New England and New Orleans, the one that has all 3 of our favorite quarterbacks in it. Tim, my apologies. Patriots and Bobby on this one. Patriots and Saints. Where do you got these two teams?
Both in Lions. Drake May, I think, is great. If Diggs or Henry. I love Rattler, which, like I've said all show, it sounds terrible, but very interested in Spencer Rattler today, which is not great. But Chris Olave, I think, would probably be Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson. Bobby Fi makes a really good point in chat. Like, Juwan Johnson, someone's projecting really well, but then Taysom Hill's there, and I'm just like, do I just put in Taysom Hill because he has the rushing equity and Juwan Johnson doesn't? But I'm not getting any Taysom, so I'm probably going to boost him a little bit. Patriots are super condensed. I think it's pretty easy. You can go the Trayvon Henderson route now that Antonio Gibson is not really as relevant because he's on the IR and he's not playing. So he's out of there. So that makes it easier. Ramondre Stevenson could fumble. Travion Henderson might be back from this game for the Patriots side.
We'll leave it for Erik because he's probably going to toss and turn over it on the next show. But Henderson's going to be an interesting play because, like, we thought we could play him in past weeks, but this is the first one without Gibson,
where you could he could be viable. Yeah. So
yeah,
and he's on the turf down there too, so his speed probably plays in it, like Coors Field, the NFL down there. So yeah, I love this game. Juwan Johnson's the one that's really popping for me, but I can't figure out what to do because I know everyone's trying to make Shaheed work. I'm fine with Shaheed, but Juwan Johnson's like Taysom Hill's there too, right? So it's like, what is it?
Well, I mean, the one thing I will say with like the idea of potentially playing Taysom, now this could change for sure. This is a brand new offense this year, right? Kellen Moore hasn't had Taysom before. He didn't play him any snaps at tight end last week. He was playing at Wildcat quarterback the whole time. So I think if you do want to play Taysom, to me, that's more of a, especially with Alvin Kamara, he's going to play, but he was like banged up going into this week. I think you play Taysom with Drake May as opposed to with Spencer Rattler because he doesn't feel like a stacking partner to me. He feels like I'm going to run in touchdowns and vulture everybody type of play to me if he does get there. So, Tim, Saints, Patriots, where you got these two teams?
This game is a truly elite game, so they definitely both belong in the Lions there. I completely agree with Bobby. There's multiple ways you can stack this game. If I was building at 150, I'd be getting a ton of exposure to both sides of this. So, yeah, definitely in step with Bob.
Still no winner through 4 clues in Superstar Sunday. Apparently, my clues may have been Not as spot on as before, but let's see if we get one in the final guess here. Clues 1 through 4. We have Storm, Switch, Unique ×2, and Special. Clue number 5 is Kick. Kick is clue number 5. Get your guesses into the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. You can get 1 free week of RotoGrinders Premium or Scores and Odds, your choice. 1 guess per clue. Storm, Switch, Unique, Special, and Kick. 2 games to go, and we are tied with 3 points apiece. Tim, where are you going to rank the Packers and the Bengals?
Yeah, the Bengals are easily going to go in the Jets tier. I really have no interest in any pieces of that side. So I guess the Packers need to go in the Bills tier. They're not quite a top tier team for me. I really just like Jacobs and Kraft here. And I'm just kind of worried that they're not going to get pushed at all by the Bengals. So, but I mean, I think Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft are both really, really solid plays.
Bobby, how about you? Where do you got the Packers? Where do you got the Bengals?
Bengals are going to be in Jets for me. Just really no one there that I feel like I can play.
I got Jamar Chase on one team for what it's worth. I'm playing a Jordan Love stack, and I put Jamar Chase as a run back on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. For me, probably going to be in Jets. I don't know how much Chase I have currently. Probably not a ton. The Packers, I'm going to put in and they're like a fringe Bills Bucks tier for me. But I already said, like, if I was ranking, Panthers would probably be the low end of the Bills for me, and I'm going to put the Packers in Bucks. Yeah, Kraft and Jacobs make the most sense. Jordan Love, I just got to figure out who he's going to pass it to, and then they need to be pushed, right? And it's Flacco's first game with the Bengals. Like, I just don't know if that's going to really translate. So Green Bay's going to go on the Bucks for me.
I think I'm going to go with Bobby here. I do like the Packers total, but this kind of feels like a game that Jacobs could have 2 touchdowns and 50 yards and be good, but not be elite. Jordan Love could have 2 or 3 touchdowns, but they go to 3 different guys and nobody really gets there from a receiving standpoint. I do love Tucker Kraft as well. I got 1 Jordan Love stack in my 20 entry build, but that's about the same as the Seahawks. That's about the same as the Colts. And so I am going to be throwing them in the Buccaneers tier as well. With 1 game to go, Bobby has a 1-point lead. How is he going to handle the San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa? 3.5-point spread in this one. Where do you got Tampa? Where do you got the Bucks? Sorry, and the 49ers.
Probably going to end up losing this one. San Fran going into the Buccaneers. Is it the Buccaneers tier for me? Yeah, Mac Jones. I think with Jennings coming back, it kind of muddles things up. I'm fine with Mac. Bourne's at 5K, but they're not anything spectacular. On the Bucs side, like, I like Ibuka, obviously. I just don't know if he's going to come ahead of like certain, like, I'm going to have this is going to be terrible, but I'd rather play Jacoby Myers currently. Chris Olave at 5,100, I think makes a good bit of sense for me too. Like, I don't know. Maybe I should have more interest in Ibuka. I just don't have a ton right now. Rashad White, I'm fading completely. Like, so I'm not really in love with the Bucks. I'm going to throw the Bucks and the Jets and lose this round.
All right, Tim. Where do you got San Francisco? Where do you got Tampa Bay? You need one of these two to tie it up, and you need 2 of them to take the lead.
I'm going to move the Bucks to the Buccaneers tier, and I'm going to put the 49ers in the Bills tier. I do like this game, getting exposure to this game on both sides. I think you can play into this game in a lot of unique ways. I like the 49ers pass catchers. I like Rashad White today. I love Ibuka. Like, I think Ibuka's, like, if wide receiver wasn't so strong, I think Ibuka would be a borderline cash game play today. I think he makes for an excellent GPP play. So I'm pretty high on this game. So I'm good with Niners and the Bills and Bucks in the Buccaneers tier.
squandered the lead late in the game. I got to go with Tim on both of these. I love this game. It's one of my favorites on the slate. I'm getting you a ton of bucks. I'm playing White. I'm playing Egbuka. I'm playing some Baker because that allows me to use Sterling Shepard and Tez Johnson, maybe even Cade Otton. And then in those lineups, I can spend up for a lot of expensive players. I can get a Baker stack with Egbuka, with Christian McCaffrey, and still like how the rest of my lineup looks. And then I love Mac Jones as a low-owned quarterback to play today. I'll stack him with Jennings. I'll stack him with Bourne. I'll stack him with Tonjes. And then McCaffrey, of course, as well. So I really like both of these sides today. Going with Tim on both, which gives us a 5-4 finish for Tim on this one. We also did get a winner in Superstar Sunday over in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord. Shout out to Dunk101. Clue number 1 was Storm, referencing where they played college. They played in Miami for the Miami Hurricanes. A hurricane is, of course, a really dangerous storm. Number 2 is Switch, because this player was drafted into the NFL as a cornerback, and he was terrible at it. Obviously, he was doing other things that he was incredible at, but he made the switch to receiver because he couldn't cover anybody despite being incredibly fast. Number 3 is Unique ×2, because he has 2 very, very cool records that he is the only person to do something. One, he is the only kick return specialist in the Hall of Fame. And number 2, he is the only player ever to have a kick return touchdown in the Super Bowl. It is Devin Hester. Clue number 4 is special because he is a specialist, a special teamer. And number 5 is kick because he is the best kick returner of all time. So Devin Hester is Superstar Sunday. Shout out to Dunk101 winning himself 1 free week of scores and odds. We'll do a little recap of the board. Tier 1, we have the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Patriots. Maybe the wildest tier 1 we have seen this year. A couple of really, really bad teams in there, but that's today's slate. It's very, very spread out. Tier 2, we have the Rams, we have the Panthers, we have the Jaguars, a couple of Jungle Cats together. We got the Chargers, we got the 49ers. Tier 3, we have the Indianapolis Colts, Seattle Seahawks, Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tier 4, Arizona Cardinals, Miami Dolphins, and Pittsburgh Steelers. Tier 5, all the way at the bottom in the Jets, the 0-5 Jets. We have the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, the Tennessee Titans, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Help me out here, fellas. What's Dean's first recap thing? Does he start asking you the expert survey questions? Does he ask for a recap of cash? Tim, where do we go next? I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about cash games again real quick. I think that it's going to be Drake May as your quarterback. I think Rico Dowdle is a staple play. CMC the same thing. Chris Olave again should be part of your cash game core on the slate. We talked about how much we like that Patriots Saints game, so you could definitely run it back. Get some May exposure. Play some Diggs, play some Henry, run it back with Olave or Shaheed or Juwan Johnson. We talked about how great that game is. And then, wide receivers, depending on what you're doing with the rest of your team, it's Puka, it's JSN as your elite spend up guys, Olave in the mid range. The mid range is absolutely loaded today in wide receiver. I think that's where the slate gets kind of tricky, because we have Olave, but we also have Ladd McConkey. We have Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Ted McMillan, Juwan Jennings at 4,800, Kendrick Bourne at 5K. Some really, really strong plays that I think all have really nice floors. So that mid-range and wide receiver today is absolutely loaded. And then tight end, I'm punting it with Long or Mayer in cash, but if you want to go up a little bit higher, I play Tucker Kraft or Warren is fine, and then McBride is your best raw points guy.
My big core of tournament plays today is I want to get to either Javonte Williams or Jake Ferguson in every lineup, and in the Jake Ferguson teams, I'm basically playing Rico Dowdle in all of them, and then in the Javonte Williams, I got him in some, but not all. I want to play Kyron Williams in as many lineups as possible. I want to play Rashid Shaheed in as many lineups as possible. And almost everyone has either Jackson Smith and Jigba or Emeka Egbuka. I was just about to ask Bobby his tournament takes, but he disappeared. We don't know where he is. And Desmond Field in chat saying, not to be that guy, but I said Devin Hester before that guy did. You weren't in the Discord chat, though, Desmond Field. You got to be in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord. Link in the bio. We bring it up before every clue in order to guess and win a free week of either RotoGrinders or Premium or Scores and Odds. Got to be in the Discord. And so Dunk 101 with the winner being the first person to guess it in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. All right. No Bobby. And so, Tim, what player are you most afraid of being underweight on today?
Man, that's tough. I mean, it's gotta be one of these mid-range wide receivers that I just talked about because this range is so loaded. So right now, I don't have Vlad McConkey in. That makes me really, really nervous. I don't have Juwan Jennings right now. That makes me pretty nervous. You're gonna have to make some pretty tough cuts in that wide receiver mid-range price range. So it's gonna be that range. There's so much goodness in that range. Right now, McConkey's out for me, but that might change that. I mean, that's subject to change because I mean he is in a really, really good spot. And they've been waiting to get him to the ball all year. So there might be a little bit of a squeaky wheel situation there as well. So I'm definitely pretty nervous not having Lad in right this second. We did get a question earlier in the chat, TJ, that I wanted your opinion on. Would you play Dowdle and Javonte on the same team?
I'm not doing it often, but yes, I'm okay with it. Because I also really like Kyron Williams, I kind of find myself more often than not, like if I'm playing Dowdle, just trying to jam in Ferguson and then going Kyron Williams over Javonte. But I am okay with it, and I do have some lineups I have both in there because they're probably both going to be all three down guys. Like maybe we get a little bit of Jaden Blue in there, but we know Dowdle will catch passes. Javonte should catch some passes. They're going to, even though it's a slow paced game, which makes me not want to. Both of these guys are going to be kind of game script proof and be on the field anyways, so I don't mind it one bit.
Yeah, I don't either. I get the argument not to do that, but in this particular matchup with this particular game, I don't mind them both in the same lineup.
All right, we've hit the ad reads, the Superstar Sundays. We got through the tiers. We gave our cash game breakdowns, our tournament breakdowns. I think it is time to bring in the GPP Final Takes crew. So without further ado, we got Erik Beimfohr, Jordan Vanek, and Neil Orfield. Let's bring them in. Gentlemen, how we doing? Erik, happy Rashid Shaheed week.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing quite like a Saturday evening DM exchange where we're talking about how excited we are for the wide receiver 2 on the New Orleans Saints. But welcome to week 6 DFS. We're going to see if we can't lead everyone up until lock a little bit better than the New York Jets are doing right about now.
Yeah, no kidding. I Jets 32 yards at half. I'm happy in my season-long league. I started Jordan Love over Justin Fields this week because that doesn't look like it'd be going too well.
Some of the yards are the punter or on special teams.
Although he'll still get his 80 yards rushing in the fourth quarter garbage time and then probably end up being pretty good.
Yep.
Neil, Jordan, how you feeling about this week? How you doing? What jersey do we got on today, Jordan?
I got a Pitt Aaron Donald jersey. I don't know. It just felt right. I ran out of cool NFL jerseys, and this week it's gross. It's a week where there's 2 blowouts that I think determine the slate. Like you got to get the Rams right. Like it feels like if you don't get between Kyron and Puka or both, and then the other one is the Packers. It's like you have to get the blowouts right to be able to find success on this slate.
Yeah, this is the first week of the season. I think I'm going to be underweight on Puka Nacua. Every other week I've been jamming them in, and this is the one that I don't have them. So I'm definitely quite worried. I do remember, this is an odd story, then we'll get the heck out of here and give you guys your time. But I remember in high school where like the fake jersey sites just started really becoming a thing where you could order like some decent quality, usually fake jerseys from places, and like everybody in high school wanted to do it all the time. And so we'd always have these like big 20+ person jersey orders so that we could get like the bulk deals. And it was like you wanted to toe the line between getting a player that people know who they are and they are very good, but a jersey that no one else has. You want to be like, it wants to be on the line of obscure but good. And I remember in 9th grade in high school getting a Mario Williams jersey for the Texans edge rusher. And in hindsight, I have no idea why the hell that would have been a player I would have chose. But that was my most obscure fake jersey that I rolled with in high school. Was a red Mario Williams Texas jersey. But Tim, anything else for the people before we leave it to GPP Final Takes?
No, I think we're good. Thanks, DJ.
All right. Have a good slate, gentlemen, and crush the show. We'll see you later.
Awesome. Thanks, TJ. And of course, Tim, the People's Show, I guess, still. Maybe we need a different name for when it's TJ and Tim. But welcome to GPP Final Takes. I'm, of course, your host, Erik Beimfohr, joined by two of my favorite people, two of the best in the biz, Neil and Jordan. We're going to not necessarily go game by game and not necessarily position by position. It is a little bit of a smaller slate. We'll talk about some of that. We want to answer as many of your questions as we can. So drop those in the chat. We'll bounce in and out of the questions and kind of some of our conversation. But what we're going to try to do is hit the most important, just like Jordan just said, right in the intro, what's the most important things to get right? Or what are the most important, aspects of the slate? Is it just roster construction? Is it a certain player? Is it a team? Right. It changes week to week, and we're going to try to hit on all of it. I just want to say super quickly, Aaron Donald was the most fun player I ever watched in person. And I was a diehard St. Louis. We've established this last week. My Sam Bradford jersey is running around here somewhere. I used to go to training camp like all the time. I was obsessed. We had like a little mini blog and stuff like that with some buddies and everything about the St. Louis Rams. And they drafted Aaron Donald, and I went to the first practice, and he's whooping everybody. And like the Rams were solid back then, had a solid offensive line, and it was like a man like that, like what Aaron Donald obviously became the best defensive player on the planet. And it was absolutely insane to see. And I think it is fitting for this slate, Neil, that Jordan is wearing a defensive player jersey, because there is not as much like there's a lot of stuff I like. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting to like click this button. But there's not a bunch of like, oh man, like absolutely wheels up, like total slam dunk, the Jordan Masons or some people might have said Rico Dowdle last week, right? But there's not a bunch of the like, oh man, this is like a play I really, really want to latch onto. I have my favorites, as I'm sure that you do. But it feels like a little bit of a different slate than we've had up until this point.
Yeah, we don't have any slam dunks here. There are some spots that like, when I first opened the slate, I really loved it. And the more I've looked at it, the more I'm like, man, I'm not as confident in like Dallas, Carolina as I was at the beginning of the week. I still like the spot. I'm still going to go there. But like there are other spots that have looked more interesting as the ones that I originally liked look a little bit less like a sure thing. So yeah, this is a slate where I've been saying I think that you just need to be game stacking quite a bit, just because there is a lack of certainty. We have a lot of games that are, not super high totals, but like kind of mid-range totals, and we just have a bunch of them kind of in a cluster there. It's not really clear what's going to happen. We also have multiple spots where it's like one team looks awesome and the team they're facing looks like they're probably not going to get a first down the entire game. So what do you do with those games? So yeah, we have a lot to figure out here as far as that goes. But I think ultimately it comes down to I'll probably be just doing a lot of game stacking and just hope that one of these games can separate more than expected.
I think that's an outstanding place to start, because I'm also, Jordan, going to want to piggyback on that into quarterback, which I think is kind of unique this week as well. It's been a unique start to this season relative to other seasons, but even though the Ravens are on this slate, Lamar Jackson is not playing. And so we have what I would call, everybody has different definitions, right? But what I would call like elite quarterback from a fantasy sense, right? There is no Lamar, there is no Allen, there's no Hurts, which we don't got to get into the Eagles debate. There is no Jalen Hurts, right? There is no Jaden Daniels. There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's not that Jared Goff is elite, but there's no Detroit Lions, right? There's so many of these. Apparently Jackson Dart needs to be included in that conversation. There's so many of these which in turn means a lot of the offenses, right? Some of the best offenses, because obviously those superstar quarterbacks are attached to the best offenses, are not in play on this slate. So are you kind of thinking about it the same way that Neil is thinking about it? Like, I got to find the one of 10 games that really does separate, because maybe we'll get to running back and stuff. We have some spots that aren't necessarily a part of the most fun games, but running backs that we like. But from a game and quarterback perspective, it's like, you better hit that part.
Yeah, no, Neil's game stacking point, I completely agree with. I think this is a week you could go 2 tight ends. I don't ever like building 2 tight end lineups, but I feel like with, you just talked about, there's not many great running quarterbacks. There's a lot of pretty good tight ends that literally dominate the red zone looks for a lot of these teams. Like, you have Darren Waller, you have Tucker Kraft, you have Jake Ferguson, Hunter Henry, like multiple guys that get it done in that red zone area. So, like, in the cheap receivers, there's no elite offenses. There's not many cheap receivers. I will say I woke up and have a disgusting take at quarterback this week in terms of stack. It's just so bad. I can't believe I'm playing it, but I had to, because like, once you think about something as disgusting as what I have, you just automatically have to just play it in one lineup to say you did it, because you can't just be like the guy that's like, oh, I like this guy today and he went for 4. Like, can't be the dude who say, Trey Tucker from week 2. I like Dante Thornton that week, and Trey Tucker ends up going for 45. It doesn't make me feel good that I played Dante Thornton. But
you don't get to victory lap calling a Raider having a good game and a different Raider had a good game.
Yeah, the Raiders are just so frustrating. But yeah,
let's talk about them.
Yeah, to give you this, I like Aaron Rodgers this week, which is gross. I think I said that on the Thursday show with you that, I want to play Calvin Austin. And then I've convinced myself that Aaron Rodgers can get it done with just DK Metcalf or DK Metcalf in general. And it doesn't feel good, but just one of those things that historically Aaron Rodgers is really good against man coverage. And that's something I want to start with this week. That's one random stack that I just got myself to this week grossly.
I love it. So let's get into some of that. I also love a show that starts with something super duper gross. I will also mention I had a buddy text me this morning that said, like something like Spencer Rattler week or something. But I think that all of that like kind of is like a defining attribute of the slate. I think Neil and I might mention some more sane things than Aaron Rodgers and Spencer Rattler. We'll find out. But so let's go. Let's let Jordan take a shower. And Neil, what are you thinking about kind of quarterback in those game stacks that you're really trying to target, where you're kind of at the top of your list?
Yeah, one thing I'm not going to do is go to Aaron Rodgers. No, I mean it's defensible on this slate. If you want to go to Aaron, he was not. I had like 3 guesses before Aaron Rodgers about your growth stack.
I only knew it was Aaron Rodgers because I talked to him on Thursday.
Yeah, it's an interesting, not one that I have honestly thought about at all. My first thought is I do immediately go to that Dallas Carolina game. Dallas defense has not been able to stop anybody all year. I think that even Bryce Young might be able to get it done. There you go, Jordan. You're welcome.
He said something nice.
Yeah.
Why do we talk about the Panthers so much every week? What is going on?
Because their defense sucks.
Yeah. Their defense seems to be pretty middling. Like, it's not as bad as it has been in years past. But this week they're facing Dallas. So like you kind of have to talk about it, where it's like Dallas has an awesome offense and a terrible defense. And like any Dallas game is just going to appeal to me all season. So I'm going to be playing that one. The weather is kind of iffy, looking like winds above 15 miles per hour, and then sometimes like sustained, and then sometimes even more. So I don't love that. You don't want to throw that variable in there. But I'll be playing a good bit of Dallas, Carolina. I think kind of all aspects of that game, but I will be playing both quarterbacks more than the field is currently. I think you can go to Trevor Lawrence again. I mean, he has not been in his NFL career much of a rusher, but then in the last game, he did rush for over 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm not totally buying it, but also like, you never know, like maybe it was a fluky thing that happened, but now they're thinking, hey, that works. Like, why don't we just keep doing that? So maybe they do like try to run him a little bit more here. Dallas's defense pretty banged up, so it's already a pretty good spot. And then you have, BTJ sort of starting to look a little bit better. They've been saying they want to get Travis Hunter the ball down the field. That also some bad weather in that game as well, so don't love that. But I think that's another game environment that we can attack, particularly like the Trevor Lawrence side. But you can go back to Sam Darnold. I mean, it worked last week. Why can't we keep going back to a cheap Sam Darnold with JSN? Pretty easy there. I'm going right back to the Justin Herbert. Well, didn't work last week, but honestly, it wasn't that far from working. Like he threw an interception in the end zone. Like if that's just a touchdown instead, suddenly it's looking, I mean, it's still not a great game. It didn't work to be clear last week, but this is an even better spot, I think, against Miami. Like they should be able to score points against Miami. It's a really condensed target tree with Quentin Johnston out. Now we've got just Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey are the primary targets, I think, unless you want to go to like Trey Harris or something, but I don't think you need to go there. You can just go to the easy bets there.
The best ball bags, Neil. The best ball bags.
I mean, I have so much Trey Harris, Eric. I need it. I need it. I think you can go to a little bit of Jordan Love. Just like I'm really into Josh Jacobs this week, but if you want to, instead bet some of your entries on Jordan Love stacks instead, and then finally the San Francisco Tampa Bay game. I'm warming up to it. It's one that I have not been super in on throughout the week, but it's like you can obviously see that game going off. Like these are two pretty strong offenses, middling defenses, a lot of strong pass catching options and some value there. So that's another one where I'll probably get to both of Mac Jones and Baker Mayfield.
I love that Juwan Jennings in. I'm going to go through when we get in about 17 minutes, we will get the early actives and inactives. And I promise you, we will walk through those. There was a great question that I do think we should cover just before my mind gets away from it. And it is the weather. You talked about the weather in the chat, kind of asked about the weather. It's the first week, I would say, where there's a couple of spots where it does matter. First, go to rotogrinders.com, go in the top tab, go to the NFL weather page, or just Google NFL weather. The RotoGrinders page will be up there. Our good friend and chief meteorologist, Kevin Roth, does the best work in the absolute business. It's not even close. So you can get this exact breakdown, right? This is what I use. I don't look anywhere. I'm not going to the Weather Channel or whatever. This is what I'm using to make my decisions on the weather. And Roth will give you updates leading up to lock here and on Twitter as well. So as you see on your screen, really what I would classify as just two spots. Obviously, he listed a very light breeze in Jacksonville on here, which tells you about the depth to which Roth will go with his analysis. Same thing in Pittsburgh, a light breeze with maybe a couple of raindrops. I'm not worried about those, right? He has them as green. The Dallas-Carolina game does have me a little bit, does have my mind in a pretzel a little bit, similar to the Ravens and the Rams. Not so much so, but we'll talk about it. The Dallas stuff is I hilariously don't worry too much about Dallas because I think they can just kind of get it done almost in any against a bad defense in really any situation. This isn't like, right, you see yellow, orange. So it's not like so bad, but it's also a little bit concerning. And my concern from the Dallas side would actually be about Carolina is, can baby Bryce and Rico Dowdle and a rookie wide receiver who I love, but can they keep pace in a game where maybe the weather isn't so good, right? And then does Dallas take their foot off the gas at all in the second half? And a little bit similar in the Rams stuff. Somebody mentioned, will Kyron get there in 2.5 quarters, which is hilarious to say about the Rams on the road at the Ravens. Here we are. But the weather is pretty similar, as Roth said, in that game. Those are not like run away from the game because of the weather, but it is like if you're on the fence about those kinds of situations, I do think it's fair to concern yourself with the weather. Jordan, was there anything in either of those games that has you changing your mind at all from a weather perspective?
I mean, yeah, you said it best with Bryce Young. Like, can his arm actually, throw the ball downfield? That's a big concern, and that probably hurts Tet quite a bit, because that is how Ted McMillan would theoretically perform against this Dallas Cowboys defense, is down on the boundary. I think it does make there's not much value on the slate. So when I say this, I mean just if you desperately needed someone, makes Xavier Legette interesting. I don't love Legette from what I've seen and a lot of his effort levels and different things, but this past week, like, the reason Rico Dowdle had 200 yards rushing stems from Legette actually making a really, really good block multiple times against the Dolphins. So he was able to, I think, take that next step forward. He's also came back, ran 75% of the routes, and you need a guy that can catch it quick off the line and go downfield. He's better than Tet at breaking tackles and little things like that. So it plays into that game environment. I think that Rico Dowdle, I know we haven't gotten to, chalk piece at it, but I can't believe, I understand it, but my God, am I not getting to that? I have zero. Dallas's run defense has actually been fine this year. That is one pivot point to the slate. And I'm thinking Javonte So I don't know if you saw the coaching hire that's really connected this run game nonsense. The Cowboys stole someone from the Cardinal staff this year. I don't remember his exact name, but he came over from Dallas, and basically everywhere he's been in the last like 6-7 years, run game immediately better. You look at the Cardinals run game, like they're terrible. Like when James Conner was playing, they were terrible. And you go to Dallas and you're like, they're making Javonte Williams really good. It's like this guy is that key, like Liam Cohen-esque with Tampa Bay of making the run game work. And I think Javonte is just going to destroy the Carolina Panthers. I know we've been decent against the run too, but I think Dallas's O-line is just a different menace right now.
Anything for you, Neil, in that game that has you concerned from just an overall weather perspective? Is it just sort of wheels up? And then I do want to talk about the Rams stuff as well, with obviously Puka being a big part of the slate, Kyren, maybe Devontae, and then can the Ravens do some scoring actually this week to push their opponent?
Yeah, I mean, I have concerns from the perspective of I want to play a lot of this Dallas-Carolina game. So then anything that's like a slight negative, that it's like, hey, maybe I'm watching the game and I'm like, man, this is just, they're having trouble moving the ball. Like, why did I play this game in like 70% of my lineup, piece of this game in 70% of my lineup? So yeah, from that perspective, I'm going to make sure that I have some lineups that don't have any parts of the Dallas-Carolina game. Or like maybe just one piece instead of just really hammering it, because it is a game that I think on some weeks, like you look at this slate, that one really stands out as a like this game could go completely off. Like, just why not just play 20? In a 20 lineup set, why not play 20 DAX stacks? Is like one thing that I might have gone in thinking on some slates. I don't think I'm playing it that way here. I'm going to be playing a lot of that game, but yeah, the weather is scaring me off it a little bit. I am not going to follow Jordan down the fade of Rico, the full fade at least of Rico Dowdle. I don't know if you're full fading, but I'm going to get at least like 30% Rico Dowdle. I think 5,800. The price is right, and even if they're like a strong run defense, like Carolina should just be able to move the ball better than usual, and he's good in the passing game, so should have opportunities. I get it, like there are ways for it to fail. I don't think that this is like a can't fail situation. If you were 4,000, it would be like a really, really big priority. At 5,800, like there's enough other options around him that he's going to be one of the running backs that I'm mixing in quite a bit. But yeah, I think like you can clearly see the upside as well for Rico Dowdle. And also, Jordan, did you know this is a revenge spot for Rico Dowdle? I don't know if you factor that in.
Well, so the other thing I factored in is Josh Nijum is starting at right tackle for the Panthers, and he's terrible. That's like, it's a significant downgrade from Taylor Moan. I'm scared that they actually might have a pass rush because our tackles can't pass block. We can kind of run, like both of them can kind of run block. Yijim is not very good at run blocking, but
what was Yijim in there last week?
No, Moen was. Moen played the whole game last week. Yeah, and also if you look at Rico Dowdle's rushing chart, all of it was to the right side. Every single play was to the right.
That's a good note.
And that was Taylor Moen blocking.
Totally anecdotal, but that I remember every big run I remember was to the right. Yeah, I know you had the really long one to the right, but yeah, I don't remember it. Now that you say it, I don't remember a run to the left. So it's definitely interesting. Neil, what about? Let's just wrap the Cowboys game, because we haven't really talked about Jake Ferguson, who I think can still get home in this game. Right, he's a tight end. He is the tight end 1 in fantasy by a pretty sizable gap, which I didn't have that one on my bingo card heading into the season. CeeDee Lamb, right, is still out. Kevontae Turpin is still out. So if the weather holds up, if Bryce and co can push back on this Cowboys offense, and it's not just going to be Javonte all the time, it's a fairly condensed target tree. George Pickens, Ryan Flanoy pops up last week for what that back at SEMO days. He's dominating in the NFL. Anything that's a particular priority, or like how would you rank some of the other stuff, right? And including on the T-Mac and whatever in this game, since you're pretty into it.
Yeah, the Cowboy side, I'm playing a lot of it. So I am playing George Pickens quite a bit. He's going to be kind of a priority for him. I mean, he's getting like 15% or so ownership. I'm not going to be actually that far over the field on George Pickens, but I think I'll be over the field on Pickens. I think he looks like a really strong option. Jake Ferguson, again, this is a nice spot for Jake Ferguson. The price tag, even up at 5,300, like doesn't really reflect his role when CeeDee Lamb is out. He looks great to me. I will play a lot of Ferguson, and then I am going to be mixing in both Ryan Flournoy and even Jalen Tolbert. That one is just like a total gut call where it's like it's hard to defend it really, because you look at Jalen Tolbert, it's like, well, he's never really been a target earner. Like, how do you go to Tolbert here? Ryan Flournoy came in and immediately was seeing more targets, but we did see in that first game that CeeDee Lamb got hurt, they targeted Jalen Tolbert, I want to say 6 times in that game, and he doesn't actually have that large of a sample of playing without CeeDee Lamb in there. I guess maybe he does more than I'm giving, but he's cheap enough, strong enough matchup. Ran 88% of the routes last week, so I think with Dallas's offense just completely humming at that price tag, like just one touchdown, a few catches, I think he pays off that price tag pretty easily, and he's getting 2% ownership. So just playing the ownership game only in the largest field tournaments. I think Tolbert is somebody that I'm actually playing a lot of, but it's really just a gut thing, like a gut, and also like the seeing those 6 targets, I guess, early on in that game that CeeDee Lamb got hurt was like, all right, they seem to be focusing on him here. It's obviously not a great sign that they went away from that when they had more time to like game plan for CeeDee Lamb being out, but I still think I'm willing to take some shots on Jalen Tolbert at no ownership on a Dallas offense that should be able to hum here in a game that should score a lot of points. So he's kind of intriguing to me. But Flournoy, a lot of people are going to go there, or a lot more are going to go to Flournoy than Jalen Tolbert. I think that's fine. Also, he looked good in his first game going off there. And Javonte, as we went over, looks great here. I'm going to play a lot of Javonte. So Cowboys just in general, I'm going to be playing all of the primary pieces, and then also going to the more tertiary pieces on the Cowboys, who I think just have a shot to put up big points because of the game environment being so good. If this were like even like a middling game environment, I'd be like, yeah, why would you even consider a Jalen Tolbert? But because it's such a strong game environment, a situation where we could see some fireworks, I think it's worth going to the inexpensive guy there. Yeah, I think that closes out for Dallas. And then Carolina, yeah, I think Rico Dowdle, fine. I really like that note from Jordan, the downgraded offensive line. Like offensive line makes such a huge impact. And I think it's kind of underrated how much of an impact it can make. So that does scare me off a little bit. Again, not going to full fade, but maybe I don't get to 40%. Maybe it's closer to 20% for me with Rico Dowdle shares. And then yeah, I'll get to some T-Mac. I think he looks good here, just attacking this Dallas defense. I don't know if I'll get to any Xavier Leggett. He did score the touchdown last week, but has he actually put up any real fantasy points?
No.
Like I think,
No.
yeah, I think it's just
No.
like even when he scores a
No.
touchdown, he puts up 10 fantasy points.
Maybe
against Dallas, but tough to get there. I think Tommy Tremble is playable again because I believe Jatavian Sanders is like at least doubtful, or
He's out. He's going to be out.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah,
expect him to play.
doubtful. I think he's
so yeah. Tommy Tremble playable again. I think it's probably just Tremble and Tedero McMillan for me.
Jordan, anything that we missed on that one? And then I'm glad you mentioned that, because I do want to talk about, not right now, but in a minute, about some of the offensive line stuff, because I think there's a couple of those spots. Cough, Chargers, what the hell is going on with the Chargers offensive line? We'll talk about some of that, because I think it's really impactful to the slate, similar to your Panthers thing. But anything we missed on that one? And then speaking of like getting things right, these are kind of the two games you're like, we better get this right. And getting this right doesn't always mean like which couple of guys did you play. It could mean like, no, just fade it, right? Or play a defense or whatever. It's getting these two games right, I think, is really important. So segue into kind of your Rams take, because I do agree that one's equally as important to get right.
Yeah, so as far as the Panthers game, I think we covered that pretty detailed. But as far as the Rams, it's like last week I played CJ Stroud in my lineups. Obviously, Nico Collins doesn't get there. CJ Stroud throws 4 touchdowns. That was a game where I felt the Texans early on could see like, oh, we can crush them. Let's work on confidence building moves, because we need our young quarterback to find that success. And for the Rams coming off their loss, it's like, we need our run game to work in the red zone. Steve Avila, I believe, is back this game, and he is a massive piece to that Rams run game. Like, he is just a mauler. He's a left guard that is just one of those big 330s that just mow down people. And the Ravens, their front without Justin Matabuke has been awful, and Roquan Smith's still missing. They still have plenty of the injuries in the back end. So I think it's a huge day for Kyren. As much as Puka, you could fit both of them in if you can, then play it. I think that's very fine as well, because Puka, I think his floor is 8 for 90. like even in games they don't pass a lot. They throw it 24 times. He's getting 10 targets. like they just will set him up. I will say I could see them kind of potentially looking at it as also let's build Davante Adams, getting him involved more in the red zone because he is obviously the counterpiece that is electric. Like these two working in synergy is what makes this team so special. If you watch that Rams Thursday night game, one drive it was like Puka 6 straight times. The next drive it was Davante Adams 5 straight times, and it was like this is unguardable.
McVay's like a really good Madden player.
Yeah,
you ever notice that?
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm just going to keep going back to this thing because you can't stop me. He's for sure on the mic trolling the other guy, right? Like while it's happening, he's a really good Madden player, is what.
That whole scheme, it's like that whole like coaching tree is like it's like, oh, you can't do this, cool. We're just going to keep we'll keep changing the player, but we're going to keep doing it. And they just. Again, it's one of those games where Puka, Adams, Kyren. I think one of those three is hitting over 26, 25 in this contest, and I want to get to at least one build with each of them. Davante Adams is obviously the most appealing because nobody cares to do it. Like, nobody's looking at it as like, oh, like it's Davante Adams. We want him in games where the Rams are passing a lot. But I'm kind of looking at it as if you want to be a Super Bowl team, and contend later in the year, you need to get Davante Adams and Matt Stafford in sync. And this is the type of game to do it. They did it against the Titans, I'm pretty sure. Just when they played them, I felt like Davante Adams had 26 against the Titans. That was a game of like, hey, let's get him the ball. And then they went Philly, Indy, and San Fran, getting him like 13 or so. But this is another game to like, okay, we can really home in on this type of stack. So it's just a matter of what the Rams want to do against the Ravens.
Neil, what do you think about the Rams, and then any interest at all in the Ravens side? Can Zay get home with Cooper Rush? Is there anything on the Ravens side outside of what Jordan talked about with the Rams?
No, Rams, I agree, look awesome. Just those three primary. I don't think you really need to get too fancy with the Rams. I guess if you want to go to a Jordan Whittington or something, feel free. But if Tutu Atwell is out, I should say. But no, yeah, I think Kyren, Puka, Adams, all priorities. I don't know that I would play many of them. I think you can probably play two of them in a lineup even without the quarterback. Actually, I take it back. I would be hesitant, I think, to play Davante Adams and Puka Nacua without Matthew Stafford, but I mean they can get their PPR, so it's not even that crazy. I don't know. They look great. This is a game where we saw Baltimore not able to stop anybody with their entire defense hurt. The biggest concern is that they just get up by too much and kind of stop letting their players cook. But I'm not super concerned about it. I don't think I'm going to be doing much in terms of bringbacks. I think we could see Zay on like a pitch count here. And then it's just a gross mix of, you're mixing in all the wide receivers, and Derrick Henry is like sort of interesting, I guess, just because he's so cheap. And they could just, give it to him 25 times here. Generally, though, I don't think I'm going to get too much of the Baltimore side, just focusing on the Rams here.
I agree. I wish Zay were. I would actually feel semi strongly about Zay as a tournament option if we didn't get this weird injury, and kind of I assume he's going to play, but he's quite like truly questionable today, and that's I think he's going to get targets in it, right? If they are going to keep up at all with the Rams, I think he's going to be a big part of it. It's just, obviously we lose Lamar, and then now you get a little bit of a nagging injury. You have pitch count concerns, you have blowout concerns. I just don't feel the need so much to get there. But I do think like a way in which how would a Stafford double like totally break the slate is like, well, the Ravens like score 2 touchdowns in the first half or something. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, there's 2 guys for that mostly, because apparently Mark Andrews is a walking corpse at the tight end position. It's Zay and it's Derrick Henry. I do just want to say before I move on, Davante Adams, I'm having a really hard time because I really, there's a lot of other spots where I don't necessarily like need to do this like leverage play thing. I'm playing a very small amount of teams, but he is like the most peak like GPP bro play you can ever make, right? Like people are going to go get Puka because he's Puka. And then everybody sees the appeal of Kyren Williams as well. So it's like when everybody does the Ravens or the Rams stuff, that's where they're going. And so then even amongst his tier of wide receivers, right, people will play Pickens instead. People will go get a Buka for a little bit more. People will get JSN for a little bit more. It's like he's just like falling through the cracks in every possible conceivable way. And so it's hard for me to unsee that once the GPP bro hat comes on for a minute. It's hard for me to take it off. But I just want to shout out that I think I don't even know if he'll be in my lineup, but he's awesome. I think he's an awesome tournament play. Let's talk about some of the other offensive line issues, because I think they're really important. They're in particular two spots, Neil, that I think all three of us quite like. You shouted out the Chargers last week, and then also like again this week, and now we get a more condensed target tree without Quentin Johnston. So it's a little bit the whole like who do we pick amongst the Chargers guys has been solved for us. But now QJ has been an important part of the offense, and now they're down. Not just the two starting offensive tackles. Now another offensive tackle is down. We're playing CFL offensive tackles on the Chargers. It's pretty bleak. The matchup is great though. So can they overcome that offensive line problem? And of course, losing a weapon, can Trey Harris or KLS step up into that role? What do you think about the Chargers this week?
Yeah, really easy answer there, which is I have no idea if they can get it going. I'm going to play it because I think that there is a possibility that they're just throwing it short over and over, because I think Miami defense probably going to be able to pressure Justin Herbert. Like that is a thing that's probably going to happen in this game. My hope is that they have good enough play calling. Justin Herbert is talented enough. The receivers are talented enough that they're just throwing it 3 yards down the field over and over again, just peppering Keenan Allen and Lad McConkey. And I think they're talented enough that they could succeed if they're able to get those short passes there, just get past the line. I think that at that point you can have success against this Miami defense. So I'm hopeful, but I'm not super. After last week, I'm even less confident. I do think this is an even better spot than the Commanders, and I loved attacking the Commanders because I think they have a really weak secondary, but they just weren't able to get to the secondary in the passing game last week. This week, I think they're going to be forced to throw it. Like I don't think they're going to be trying to run that much. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Hassan Haskins is like, hey, he's just next guy up. We're confident in him. But with this offensive line, I would assume they're not really trying to run it all that much. So I'm expecting PROE to be really high here for the Chargers and a lot of short passes to guys who excel at short passes. So I'm going to be playing it a lot. I am not super confident that it's going to work, but I think even if they don't have a lot of success, like as a team moving the ball, I think we could just PPR our way there with Keenan Allen and Lad McConkey. So that's my hope, is like the floor is that they each get like 8 receptions, and then the ceiling is that they turn 8 receptions into over 100 yards and a touchdown.
And possibly some more rushing for Justin Herbert, right? How can he get there without them scoring 40 points or whatever with the double stack? Is like there's some nice ways that they can get there, even if you're not really enjoying it while it's happening, right? You're sitting there for 3 hours like Justin Herbert looks miserable, and I feel miserable watching him, and he turns around and he has 26 fantasy points, and both of those guys have 8 catches. I think that's totally conceivable. Jordan, what do you think about the Chargers, and is there any interest in the Hassan Haskins or Kamani Vidal stepping into Amari Hampton's role, whatever the heck is going to go on there? Most notably, if you follow the Chargers over the course of the summer, Harbaugh loves them both. I don't know if you guys are aware, but if you wear a Chargers jersey, Harbaugh loves you. And so he gave us absolutely nothing useful. Haskins and Vidal are both awesome. They're both going to the Hall of Fame, according to Harbaugh. So we don't know who's going to lead the way.
They're looking for running back in the trade market. And that tells me kind of what that news is what has guided me to like, they're not going to get enough rushing attempts to matter. And I also think Nyheim Hines could just be the third down running back. It very well, like, it's gross, but
what year
it wouldn't. This? Yeah, it would not surprise me. Oh, Tutu Atwell's inactive. Just saw that coming through. They could easily have both of them, like Nyheim Hines, just take the third down role, and then it's like what the Cardinals' backfield was this past week. And if that's the case, that is absolutely terrible. I don't want anything to do with that. They could get it done as a passing group, but it's like, at what point does these first round picks and $20+ million defense linemen for the Dolphins show up? Like, Zeeler is supposed to be this top tier guy. Bradley Chubb is getting paid plenty of money. Jalen Phillips is fighting for a contract to next year. They had Chop Robinson first round pick, Kenneth Grant first round pick. Like, they have too much talent, or at least invested capital, to not find success. That's the only concern I really have. I think the Chargers' quick passing game is going to be the way they approach this game, and Ladd and Keenan can carry that. I don't really have interest in like a Keandre Lambert-Smith or a Trey Harris, because those guys want to work down the field for their success. And that's just not going to be there this week. Like that is not something I would be dialing up as a play caller because I don't trust this offense line at all. And the Dolphins side of things, I think Darren Waller is interesting. He's killed Derwin James when he was a Raider back in the day. He's faced him plenty. So even if they try to match it up that way, like you can still get him the ball. And he's looked just phenomenal as a player. They didn't go to him in the second half against the Panthers for some odd reason, but he's
0 time. Quite literally, you're not exaggerating. Yeah, it's 70 yards in the first half, and they didn't throw to him in the second half.
It was just like, oh, this guy, like he's still very, very, very good. I think that he's one of the more under-owned tight ends on the week, and like how I would run back this Chargers game.
I just want to say the Jets are winning right now over the Broncos. This is wild. This this is how we're gonna win this slate, guys. Is with all the gross stuff. That's what the chat. I see your questions. We're gonna get to some of that. I want to run down the actives, the most notable actives and inactives so far. Nothing super surprising. QJ is out. Zay is in. We'll talk about the Seahawks game. I know Neil has mentioned Trevor Lawrence, but some pretty notable injuries in the defensive backfield for the Seattle Seahawks. Devon Witherspoon, one of them, is out. Alvin Kamara, we are so close to getting the Kendre Miller week, but nonetheless, it has to wait a little bit longer. Alvin Kamara is playing. Christian Gonzalez also in that game. Another big piece, swing piece for the Patriots pass defense is active. So Christian Gonzalez is playing. Jatavian Sanders, as we talked about, is out. Tutu Atwell is out. Not that he doesn't matter that much, but also it's kind of interesting. It's like it does remove a piece. I'm not sure that Jordan Whittington is ever going to earn any targets. They literally might just throw to Puka and Devontae on every single play. So that's the latest updates that I have. Let's hit some questions and then we'll do Jalen Ramsey is active. That's the latest one that I did not mention if anyone cares about Jalen Ramsey. Hit some questions and then let's do some running back discussion. We talked about kind of some of our favorite games. We'll do some more game discussion as well. Well, speaking of, I'm Authentic says just straight up, Neil, do you prefer Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor if you're spending up at the running back position?
Probably Jonathan Taylor for me. Or sorry, Christian McCaffrey for me. I just think Christian McCaffrey is safer. I think either of them is a defensible pick. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey is the answer for me just because I think that's a more fun game environment to play. I also think Christian McCaffrey just has a higher floor, similar ceiling. I think Jonathan Taylor, clearly we saw it last week, 3 touchdowns. You can't really say anybody has a higher ceiling than Jonathan Taylor, and they are favored by 8.5. So Jonathan Taylor looks great, but it's always going to be Christian McCaffrey for me when they are about the same price tag. McCaffrey actually cheaper than Jonathan Taylor. So I'll go McCaffrey by a hair.
How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, it's McCaffrey from the passing game work. It's just ridiculous what he's able to get. And I also, in my head, when you said that, like you immediately said Jonathan Taylor and switched to McCaffrey, I was like, what if his internet just cut out? Like that is hilarious. That's what played in my head. That's why I was like, whoa. It's like, wait a minute. And no, it's just the passing game work. And I think like Jonathan Taylor got the red zone rushing. Daniel Jones could get it. He is also capable of getting some red zone. Yep. And then this is the type of game where DJ Giddens is probably going to be involved a little bit more just because you're playing the Cardinals without Kyler. Interesting that just maybe a trade discussion eventually for the Colts, but they made AR their QB3 this week. They put Riley Leonard as their QB2, which basically was probably saying like, hey, we might be working out a deal to move him because you don't want him in any reason to go in the game unless absolute injury. Interesting.
Speaking of injuries and speaking of that game, a bunch of questions and some funny nicknames around Bam Knight, who even as of yesterday, I don't think we thought we would be getting brought up here on this show. But Neil, it was announced Bam Knight is the starter for whatever the heck that means with the Arizona Cardinals, right? Michael Carter was listed 3rd on the depth chart and then inactive before that, and all of a sudden dominates the backfield. Doesn't play particularly. I know he scored some fantasy points, but he wasn't particularly good. Amari DiMercado is a moron, and so apparently they've decided by process of elimination that it's Bam Knight week for the Cardinals. But there's no Kyler Murray. He is 4,300 on DraftKings, and the matchup is not bad, even though they're huge favorites. Like just from be able to run the ball, it's not terrible. But what do you think about Bam Knight?
I mean, I'm not super enthusiastic about Bam Knight. I think like it really comes down to ownership, because there is a lot of opportunity cost there. Like we have a lot of running backs that I really like on this slate. There's really, I mean, I shouldn't say a lot. There's like 10 running backs that I think are really strong plays, and then there's nothing. So there's not much behind there. I think that like he enters the fray of like the fringe of playable, based on ownership. If he's going to be 1% owned, I'd say, yeah, 4,300. Who knows? Maybe he scores a touchdown or two, and you really need that salary saving, makes things work for you. Then he looks fine in a large field tournament. But I'm not like super enthusiastic about it, because again, you can only play 3 running backs. So even if he ends up being a great point per dollar play, like you just need fantasy points in your lineup, and 15 fantasy points might not get it done, depending on how everything plays out with McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Dowdle, Rashad White, all the other options that we have on this slate. So doesn't become like a priority. He's not like oh wow, he's near the min price, we got to jam this guy. But he is like he's fringe. Like I'll have him in a 150 set. I don't know that I would have him. Maybe I get to him once in a 20 lineup set.
So Jordan, we also should talk about that game, I think, and we got a few questions about that. Donnie asking about is it gross that he wants to play a Jacoby Brissett stack? And then we talked a little bit about Jonathan Taylor, but if they're going to score a bunch of points, what if Daniel Jones steals some of the rushing touchdowns like he did at the start of the season? Multiple QB sneaks for Daniel Jones, and he still scored 20 fantasy points last week with Jonathan Taylor having 3 rushing touchdowns. So can Jacoby, it's week 6, my brain's going to be dead by like week 13. Can Jacoby Brissett elevate this Cardinals offense is a real question I'm asking you in 2025. But also, what about this game, right? What about the Colts passing game? What about the Cardinals, etc.?
No, Jacoby Brissett is not capable of if he falls in the end zone, maybe, but even if even if he scored a rushing touchdown, I'd probably cap his ceiling at 18. There's some guys that just are not like Jacoby Brissett's going to function, but they're going to play really slow. They're not an exciting offense. They don't really do anything super exotic or creative. I've seen Jacoby Brissett for years. I don't. Maybe this is a revenge game narrative, Neil. This is another one over here with Jacoby against the Colts.
How many teams has he been on?
Does he feel Does he really feel vengeance, he needs?
Dude.
Yeah.
This is the one team that started him for a full season. All right, this is they went out there and put him in there. He was he was their guy. It's terrible. Didn't they trade for him when Luck retired?
Yeah, Luck.
And he started literally
Luck
as soon as it goes. But regardless, as far as the Colts go, if you play Daniel Jones, I think Tyler Warren and Alec Pierce are the ways I would play it. Just from Pierce's price standpoint, I think like for Daniel Jones to kind of have that success, like if you follow the Cardinals coverage, they are a very exotic like quarters type of team, but their quarters coverage starts like 7 yards down the field instead of 12. And as a result, you can beat them down the field. It doesn't look like you can till the ball is snapped, but Alec Pierce actually did it with Daniel Jones once upon a time. Not Alec Pierce, sorry. Daniel Jones did it with Jalen Hyatt once upon a time against the Cardinals a few years ago that I actually stacked. So that's kind of the way I would go about it, but I just don't think I'm going to get to Daniel Jones because I think they spread the ball around on offense and score touchdowns with multiple people today.
Anything for you, Neil, in that game? What about the Colts passing game, and are you playing some of Jacoby sleeves today?
Definitely the tight ends. I think Tyler Warren and Trey McBride both look like pretty strong plays. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor. We already talked about Van McKnight, but yeah, I'd say as far as like priorities, it would be Jonathan Taylor is the clear priority here. You can mix in a little bit of Zonovan Knight. The tight ends I would say are both like kind of priorities. Like I'm making sure I'm getting to some of Trey McBride. I'd say Tyler Warren at 4,900, the bigger priority on DraftKings. Trey McBride actually cheaper on FanDuel, so I like him a little bit better there. But yeah, both look awesome here. You can mix in like we said, Michael Pittman looks fine. Play a little bit of Pierce. No other real priorities for. I think Marvin Harrison, like maybe I don't know, is Marvin Harrison better without Kyler Murray? I think he might be. So I think he looks a little bit better, but it's not a game that I'm super enthusiastic about outside of like, yeah, the tight ends are some of my favorite tight ends here. Jonathan Taylor looks great. And then it's just kind of mix in other pieces for me.
I'm kind of intrigued by the Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones looks good himself, and Tyler Warren looks good, but just like people don't like a double stack with Daniel Jones or something doesn't feel good. Say whatever we want about the Arizona Cardinals, and I have a lot of negative things to say about the Arizona Cardinals, but they got two guys, and if you really want to do Bam Knight, go for it. Like, it's clear who to play on the other side. If Jacoby, and I'm not saying you have to play Jacoby Brissett, I'm just saying I would still rather play Daniel Jones. Adam asks, is Jacoby any worse than Kyler? Would you play Kyler at 4,200? First, I would say it's hilarious that that's not a truly ridiculous question to ask. RIP Kyler. But I would say sometimes we take the backup quarterback thing a little bit too far, where it's like, do I think Kyler is better than? Yes.
Probably five fantasy point projection difference between the two of them.
Exactly. So it's not that Kyler isn't flawed. This reminds me of actually Daniel Jones last year. Daniel Jones not good, right, for the New York Giants, but people are just clamoring for like Drew Lock. And I'm just like, buddy, have we not watched Drew Lock play for the last while? It's like the grass is not always greener. I do think it's a reasonable thing at 4,200 Jacoby Brissett. He has run historically, but this is also like old Jacoby Brissett. Like those Colts days that Jordan was talking about was a long time. That was a long time ago. You know what I mean? This is like Atlanta Hawks Vince Carter. This isn't Toronto Raptors Vince Carter. This is 42-year-old Vince Carter. So anyway, that's kind of my general premise. I also don't think there's like not a lot of value, but outside of like Puka, maybe CMC or something, there's not a lot that you feel you really have to go get, and go spend up for. A lot of the good plays are 5 or 6K range guys. So I don't feel super pressed to get a $4,200 quarterback. What about some more running backs? Neil, we talked a little bit about Rico Dowdle. We talked about the superstars and Javonte and apparently Bam Knight, but who are we missing amongst the running backs on this slate so far?
I mean, Josh Jacobs stands out to me as like arguably the best running back play on the slate, who's like not getting steamed. Like I thought we're going to get Josh Jacobs at 45% ownership here against the Bengals. Just every running back crushes against the Bengals. Now you get a talented running back with an awesome workload. I think Jonathan Taylor's they're just going to give it to him 20 plus times, and he should be super efficient against this Bengals defense. So not like the most involved in the passing game, but he's 7,300. You don't have to pay the same price for him that you do for McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor. I think he's probably actually my favorite running back play on the slate overall. And then you've got, Javonte looks awesome. I'll play a lot of Javonte. Kyron again, similar to Josh Jacobs in that I like the passing games, but I also think it could just be like the running back gets all the work. And we saw Kyron had a couple receiving touchdowns last week. I think Kyron also looks pretty good at 6,300. McCaffrey, Taylor, we've already talked about. I think Devin Achane at like very little ownership is like kind of intriguing. This is a spot where we could finally see him get targeted. Like, it wouldn't be surprised in any game that he gets 12 targets in the game. So I think Achane is like, in larger field tournaments, or I guess even small field tournaments, like Achane is playable. But yeah, as far as like priorities go for me, I would say Jacobs is number one, followed by probably McCaffrey and Taylor. Javonte right there with them. I would say probably Dowdle, White, and Kyron all a tier below those guys. And then below that, I do have, as far as like guys I'll play, Quinshon Judkins definitely makes that list for me. Ashton Genty, actually Genty might be in that tier above also. I think Genty looks really good here at 6,900. But then playable for me would be like Achane, Judkins, and I don't know that I really get to much else at running back here. Maybe like a smattering of Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, but like I don't really think I need to get to all that much more.
I think Neil nailed that. Jordan, what are you thinking? The folks seem interested in the chat in Quinshon Judkins as well. He seems to be a guy the chat really likes. What are you liking at running back?
See, the guy who likes Aaron Rodgers has to theoretically like Aaron Rodgers to be throwing, and for him to be throwing, theoretically, Quinshon has to be running well. Oh no, I love Quinshon this week. I also, Genty is just in an absolute smash spot again. I'm surprised the ownership isn't higher on him personally. I do agree that Jacobs is probably the reason, because like nobody knows. It's like, these are two running backs that dominate their workloads, that are in great matchups, that are at home, huge favorites. What do we do? And it's, to me, I'm probably just going to play Genty because on the Packer side, I love Jordan Love and Tucker Kraft this week. It feels like a multi-touchdown day. And Packers, just not to go back to quarterback, but Bengals can't get pressure on the quarterback. And if you look at Jordan Love's metrics when he's pressured and when he's not, it's fantastic. Dude launches the ball when he's unpressured. He just has to throw it downfield. His 8-out's like 11 yards per attempt or something crazy. So I think that will be a fun way to play that game. Other than that, though, Javonte... Travis Etienne becomes really intriguing with the Seattle cornerback injuries because everybody thinks, oh, their corners are out now. Now they're just going to get gashed through the air. It's like, well, you can kind of mask bad corners sometimes by just playing so many people downfield. As a result, you give up rushing lanes, and Travis Etienne could very well, like Trevor Lawrence being chalky. Travis Etienne, I think, is a very, very intriguing play, especially off of Rico Dowdle, who's the same price.
It's not the exact same thing, but anybody, if there's any college football fans, it reminded me a little bit of what a lot of teams are doing to them, but what Illinois did to Ohio State yesterday, in that they have Jeremiah Smith, who in a couple of years we'll be talking about on this very show, probably a lot, because he's very, very, very good at football. 19 years old, dominating college football. My God, the things I was doing at 19 years old are a little bit different than Jeremiah Smith. But right, they just said, beat us on the ground, beat us checking it down or whatever. And I do think it's easy to go look at what Baker did to that Seattle defense last week and try to like pattern match. And I'm not sure that I trust Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense to do the same. But any other running backs, let's put a bow on running backs, Neil, that we missed that came to you here in the last couple minutes.
Yeah, I guess as far as like smattering of them, Hassan Haskins probably does make that list for me, just with the news today that they're expecting him to get the bulk of the workload there. They're facing Miami, but again, that's like, I don't even think I get there in a 20 lineup set. It's probably more just like a 150 set play, similar to Bam Knight. And other than those, like, not really. Like, I don't really see anything else that I need to get to. It's mostly just like the guys I mentioned, which are, there's 10 or so that look pretty strong to me. And then it's largely just not maybe if I get them in the Sims, I'll play them, but not prioritize anybody else.
Something I've been thinking about to kind of put a bow on running back that I really screwed up last week is we did have a lot of the Hassan Haskins-ish, right? It was Rico Dowdle. Who am I missing? There's a couple other guys that popped up, like from Rashad White. Yeah, there was some of those guys, and I'm Michael Carter, right? And I was just like, there was kind of this similar tier we're talking about. I'm like, there's Javonte, there's Brees, there's whatever, Kyron and JT, and like there's all these other guys. And then I'm not saying you didn't want to play Jonathan Taylor, etc. But obviously Rico Dowdle went nuts, but Rashad White has a good game, Michael Carter has a good game. And like, is there a path to which we should just go spend up and get the superstar tight ends and the superstar wide receivers and actually use these value guys who we're all just like, I would just rather play Judkins. I would just rather play Kyron. And it's like, but that's how everybody's feeling. On a lot of weeks, historically, these running backs would be more popular. But the last couple, because of pricing and because of all that, do they have any more appeal for you just from a straight tournament perspective, Jordan? In like, I could play some of these, play Bam Knight and play Hassan Haskins or whatever, and go get Puka and get Devontae and get JSN and Abuka or whatever, and people aren't going to build their teams that way.
I think Hassan is the most intriguing because it like the fact that he's not very popular. I know that they're in a split timeshare, and that obviously is a thing. If you watch the Dolphins, if you have turned on the TV and watched them try to defend the run, it is embarrassing. And it's way harder to pass block than it is to run block. Run block's about strength, technique, but it's like, the guys can come in and run block well. They don't necessarily all come in and pass block too well. It's a much different feel. To me, it's like, I think Hassan Haskins would be, out of the cheap running backs, I would be like, dude, not getting over 5% ownership. Just, I think I don't love the cheap running backs, but he is starting to appeal to me much more with the news that he would get, quote unquote, the bulk of the carries. Hassan Haskins isn't, Rico Dowdle that ran for 1,000 yards as an NFL running back. But if he's going to go unowned against the Dolphins defense, I think it should be very intriguing.
I like that. Steve, can we stop these international games? They are atrocious. I keep sending them over there. Honestly, I don't have to watch much of them. and I can enjoy the other good games that are going to happen later. I'm keeping track. I promise. This is just an absolute atrocity of what's going on over in London. But let's talk about some more fun stuff, Neil, some wide receivers that we haven't got to. You don't necessarily have to love these quarterbacks, but I want to lead in with, I was a little saddened to see Christian Gonzalez playing, because that game I think has like really sneaky shootout written all over it. Obviously with him in there, it changes things a little bit, probably more so for Mr. Chris Olave, who's going to be quite popular. I am a big fan, as TJ said in the intro, of Rashid Shaheed again this week. Jordan and I were lamenting on Thursday like how big of a smash spot it was for Shaheed, and didn't get to him in enough lineups or in the ways that it should have been played. I like him a lot again this week. I think it's a really good spot for him. I think Stephon Diggs, even though he's probably not feeling vengeful against the New Orleans Saints, I think he's really emerged as the lead dog there. May is priced well. There's kind of a lot to like in this game, mainly at wide receiver for me. What do you think about that one and just some other wide receivers we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, no, I think that those are all good calls. Like Olave looks a little bit too cheap. Rashid, he can go off in any game. Don't love that Christian Gonzalez is playing. Like does hurt both of them, I think, a bit. So yeah, would have obviously preferred if we had Christian Gonzalez out, but I think both are still playable just because they have pretty low price tags. Stephon Diggs, a little bit too high owned for my liking. Looking like he's getting like over 15% projected ownership places that I'm looking. So at 5,800, like he's okay, just not like a huge priority for me in that spot. I think it makes sense to stack him with May if you're going to do some May stacks. I think you could play Hunter Henry in that game. I guess we're mostly sticking to receivers here. But yeah, I think those are like the Saints guys look pretty good. Not like these aren't my biggest priorities in this game. Bigger priorities, we've talked about Puka and Devontae Adams, both look awesome. JSN, I think just like he's still just 7,600. The price is not moving up as quickly as maybe it should be. So I think the price is just still really nice on JSN. I'll be playing a lot there. Again, I am going to be playing a fair amount of Justin Herbert. I'll also be playing Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen as one-offs. Because again, even if Justin Herbert doesn't get there because they don't actually get into the end zone, I think McConkey and Keenan Allen could just PPR their way there. And they're cheap enough that they can get there without scoring touchdowns. So they could get 8 receptions for 100 yards and call it good. I think both look really strong here at. They're getting a bit more ownership now than they have been all week, obviously with Quentin Johnson out, but they also should have more opportunities. Pretty condensed there. I think they both look really strong. Teterow McMillan, like just attacking this Cowboys defense, like has worked so far. Why not just keep attacking this Cowboys defense? I'm less confident in it with Teterow McMillan, with Bryce Young throwing the ball. Sorry, Jordan, had to get one of those in. But we saw, Garrett Wilson put up 19 with Justin Fields throwing the ball. So like he got there in garbage time. I think Teterow McMillan is more likely to get there. I think that he's really talented, and I think Bryce Young can get him the ball. So I do like Teterow McMillan a bit. Also like George Pickens quite a bit here. 6,800 should be a priority. He got it done against the Packers. He can get it done here. I also, as mentioned, Flournoy, Tolbert going to be in my player pool as low owned darts in that game. As far as other priorities, I mean, yeah, I think BTJ is fine. I think we'll play some of that. I will be playing some Jacoby Myers after everybody is going to move away from Jacoby Myers finally. Like this could be the bounce back spot that we're looking for with Jacoby Myers. Matthew Golden at like under 5% projected ownership. I might bet on that post-buy rookie bump for Matthew Golden against this Cincinnati defense. Like this seems like a spot where maybe they finally hit on a long ball there. So as Jordan said, like if you love Jordan Love getting pressured, throwing the ball deep, maybe Matthew Golden benefits. I think he is my favorite of the Packers receivers.
I love it. Jordan, what do you think about, obviously Neil hit on a lot of his favorite wide receivers. What are some of yours, whether he touched on them or not?
Buka is someone that wasn't mentioned. That is just like, it's these Ohio State receivers just come in the NFL and they just know how to read defenses, react to defenses, catch the football with ease. Like he was my actual number one receiver this past draft class, which kind of hurt when we picked Tet. It's not like that. And then he falls to the Bucks, and I'm like, I hate you. I hate them because they're so smart. Like, this guy is really, really good. George Pickens is really good against single high coverage, and Panthers basically live in it. Jalen Waddle's role against, he's just so much better with Tyreek Hill not playing, and that's someone that it doesn't feel like the field really cares for. Like Diggs is 300 cheaper, but he's getting so much more ownership, and Jalen Waddle's projected a little bit more than him. Calvin Ridley is someone that I like too. That type of play that he made towards the end of the game is something that I think can catapult like a connection, and the rookie quarterback finding his footing, and somehow the Cardinals losing that game to kill a lot of survivor people. That's something that could go. Juwan Jennings, I don't know if he's fully healthy, and it's so frustrating with the 49ers every week that I don't know if he's going to be playing, but limited or just playing. I think if he plays, I'm actually more interested in Kendrick Bourne, just because of the fact that like the field is just going to, if in the afternoon only mainly, because I'm not really going to touch these two in my main slate builds. I think the field will go away from Bourne if Jennings plays, because they'll just naturally think, oh, Jennings is back, he's going to be the guy. And it's like, Kendrick Bourne might, like, this guy was Juwan Jennings in this 49ers offense a long, long time ago. like there was a Super Bowl he caught 2 touchdowns at, just, against the Chiefs down here in Miami. This could be very well. I have no interest in Shaheed. Just sadly this week, I can't do it. I can't after he's going to get ownership this week, and it sucks. And I'm mad that I did not get there this past week. But I love the Matthew Golden call. Romeo Doubs and Golden are a coin flip. I wish Matthew Golden was just $500 cheaper, that I could just be like, oh, I can just do this. But the fact that they're $200 in difference, and Romeo Doubs has just been better. He's been the best Packers receiver this whole year. It's just so frustrating. I hate the price algorithm, because dude went for 30 in his last game. Matthew Golden doesn't have 30 points on the year, but there's 200 points in difference. It's like, what are we doing?
That is true. That's I actually didn't know. I mean, I think I subconsciously knew that, but Matthew Golden has 30 unrealized fantasy points for sure over the season, but I will not stand for the Rashid Shaheed slander. I'm not listening to it.
Getting played. He's just getting played. It's not cool when he's played,
including by me. Aaron and some other folks have asked. I want to hear you guys take on. So first of all, just quickly, go to on your desktop or whatever. I guess don't have to do it on your desktop. Go open up your lineups page on DraftKings.com and filter for only the 49ers and the Tampa Bay game. Right? You can filter down and go to wide receiver and look at how many out tags are on that. It is mind blowing. Everyone that in that game, right, from a receiver perspective and tight end, are all injured. Bucky is out. Everyone is hurt. So people are asking about Tez Johnson. Actually bet the over on Tez and Sterling Shepard's props this week, which tells you about everything you need to know. But is there more kind of sneaky tournament appeal to someone like Tez Johnson, Neil, with no Godwin, right? There's just a lot of opportunity in what should be I don't know about high scoring game, but it's not going to be 10-7 either. It's 2 pretty good offenses.
Yeah, I think that game is actually one that's a little bit sneaky, that I like better and better throughout the week, just because you've got Baker Mayfield, who just it seems to always be undervalued. He just we always it's it doesn't project all that well point per dollar. He's kind of too expensive. And then he puts up 30 and it's oh, clearly he was not too expensive. He just can throw. And he's nice in that he usually will bring along at least one, often multiple receivers with him in his games when he goes off. So I do think that's a game that looks pretty fun. Mac Jones has actually looked legit with San Francisco. Also, he's pretty cheap. So I think you can play either of those quarterbacks. And looking at the receivers, obviously Egbuka, I agree with Jordan on that, looks pretty strong. I do think Tez Johnson, I wouldn't be surprised if Tez Johnson gets to double-digit ownership just based on how much steam he's getting. But there's a good chance, he's not being projected for it. Usually the steam doesn't matter as much as maybe I think it does. So I think Tez Johnson looks like a fairly strong play. Sterling Shepard, certainly playable. I also do really like the angle of the 49ers backs of who do you play? Do you play Juwan Jennings? Do you play Kendrick Bourne? It's kind of it's gross enough that we don't know what do I do with it. So I think people stay away from it. I hand built a double stack with both of them, Kendrick Bourne and Juwan Jennings, because I think a lot of people are making the decision which one of these guys is going to be the guy this week. This is the 49ers. Why can't they both get to 20 fantasy points or close to it or something? And they're both inexpensive. So I actually think both of those are strong plays here. Probably Juwan Jennings takes me away from playing much of DeMarcus Robinson. He's somebody that maybe you'd get to without Juwan Jennings. Still arguably playable, but I'm less enthusiastic about it now. You can also include Jake Tonges in those stacks. I think that is a game environment that it's not my highest priority, but it is one that I'm going to make sure that I have some exposure to, like full game stacks where it's a quarterback, multiple pass catchers, a bring back or two. All of it looks really good to me.
Keep your questions coming in the chat. I promise you we will answer as many of them as we can. I'm speaking like the level of the football game that's going on right now. We're going to hit as many questions as we can, but we got to hit tight end, and we're going to hit defense because apparently that's something we have to do. We have to give a detailed defense breakdown nowadays.
You specifically, Erik. You specifically. Actually, Jordan got it right last week too, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
close, man.
When
So
are you going to
close to
come to the
flying.
freaking party, Neil, and come join us on Defense Island? We whiff on a lot of things, but apparently defense is has been so far so good. But so let's talk about some tight ends. We've kind of along the way, right, talked about plenty of the tight ends, Jake Ferguson, Trey McBride. I totally agree. I'm really actually struggling with the roster build because there's all these little pieces of different stuff I really see that I really want to play. And then when you kind of start to put it together, it's a little bit tricky to get it all to match. Tucker Kraft is probably my favorite, like similar to like Devontae to me. Just like Tucker Kraft is like the Devontae of tight ends, where you're just like, yeah, this dude has a nuclear ceiling. The spot is great, but everybody's going to play Josh Jacobs. Everybody's going to play Jake Ferguson at his own position, whatever. So he jumps out to me. But Jordan, any other tight ends that we haven't necessarily touched on so much today? The folks are asking about Taysom Hill. We have Hunter Long for super cheap. There are a decent amount of options at the position.
And 150 builds, Taysom Hill is fine. You can do that. It is okay. Dude just got, like, he was the knee down guy. He was in the Wildcat. It doesn't matter who the coach is. That dude is just going to find ways on the field. Tommy Tremble is just a little, I don't know, we mentioned him a little bit. Oronde Gadsden is interesting because I think without Quentin Johnston, there's a pathway where you think, oh, our O-line's bad. What do we do? It's like you bring in a Conklin who can block and help block that offensive line. And it's like, we'll use Gadsden as a guy that can split out wide. Like, he is capable of being on the perimeter while Ladd or Keenan's in the slot and being able to do that. So I think he's intriguing for Herbert stacks. Hunter Long is intriguing just because he plays a lot and he's 2,500. That's basically it. And I will say one thing I'm proud of with this show. We didn't mention Travion Henderson this whole time. I'm proud of us. This is like no Antonio Gibson, and we didn't. I mean, I said it because I'm just proud. I'm proud of us that we nobody did it.
Growth, yes, it's very big growth. I agree. We had to get into the weeds on some of the dirt games and the Teds Johnson level punts, but yeah, we did not go back to. So which means, the windy meme. Why do you think that is? Neil, tight end. What do you got at tight end?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a pretty strong upper tier. I think there's the four at the top is Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren, Jake Ferguson, Trey McBride. I think I want to have double digits of each of those four. I think you can make a strong case for any of them being the top tight end on the slate. Jake Ferguson just looks awesome without CeeDee Lamb. Tyler Warren getting goal line carries on top of an already strong role. Trey McBride just coming down in price. Everybody maybe scared off him, but with Jacoby Brissett, who knows? Maybe he finds the end zone finally. And then Tucker Kraft playing against Cincinnati, who just gives up fantasy points to tight end. So I think all four of them you should have doubled. Like, if I were making four lineups, I might have each of them in a lineup and just like start there with the top end tight ends. Hunter Long looks okay without Bretton Strange here. He projects well point per dollar at 2,500. Michael Mayer with no Brock Bowers looks like a stronger priority. Hunter Henry, if you're playing, game stacking the Patriots game. Waller actually has a pretty strong role here. You can play him as your bring back in charter stacks if you want to, or as a one-off. Like, I think Waller, just like his role has been pretty strong, and he says it's going to continue to grow. So I would assume that we're going to continue to see Waller get more and more involved here for Miami, which, man, I did not expect that coming in. I thought for sure, like, he's so different. He's not a Jonnu level player. They're not going to like get another tight end to go off, and he has been surprising us. I think Njoku, after 24% target share last week, makes me think that it's possible that Dylan Gabriel just going to focus more on the tight ends. Maybe they're showcasing him for trades. I don't know, but Njoku is pretty intriguing to me at 3,500. And then Tommy Tremble 2,600 with no Jatavian Sanders looks okay. I'm going to be playing a ton of different tight ends. It's just those top four are the ones that I'm like, I want to have at least double digits, like bare minimum 10% of those top four, and then I'll be spread out after that.
Could not possibly agree more. That I think it's a big four, and then kind of choose your own adventure at the tight end position. Quickly, we're going to hit some of these questions. Shout out Hammer in the chat. You're welcome, but thank you for showing up. 75K last week winner. Shout out to you, man. That's absolutely
awesome.
Incredible. You didn't take my advice, so you took your
mine
own.
neither. Yeah.
That's yeah.
What he's saying is he faded us last week. He was like, all right, Neil likes Justin Herbert. I'm not playing any Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I liked Darius Slayton. How'd that go? He got banished to the backup of Lil Jordan Humphrey. That's about what I did. AD Mitchell got banished to being inactive today for the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, healthy scratch. But yes, shout out Hammer. Let's rapid fire some questions. We'll give a very quick defense, kind of our favorite defense, and then of course we'll give our flag plants and bring on crunch time. Kendrick Bourne, good for DK Cash. Neil,
I don't think so for Cash. No,
I would tend to agree. Jordan, a couple of other like punt tight ends. Would you even consider these guys? AJ Barner and Cade Otton.
Cade Otton, yes. AJ Barner, no. I think that he played 50% with Elijah Arroyo. He just was the guy that caught touchdowns. Like they could split. It feels like they're poor man's Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews.
That's a good comp in several different ways. Cade Otton stuck out to me a little bit when I saw the Chris Godwin news, where you remember last year where they just like built the plane out of Cade Otton for a couple of weeks. And we were just like, what the heck is going, like 14 Cade Otton targets? And like now they have Ibuka. It's a different situation, but I would be lying if I said it didn't like my ears perk up a little bit when I saw that. Neil, Vlad or Jalen Waddle? Are you playing? I don't think we talked about. Are you playing any Jalen Waddle like on the opposite side of your stacks? Or I assume you prefer Lad though between the two.
Yeah, I prefer Lad, but honestly, like Jalen Waddle looks really good. Like the role has been great without Tyreek Hill the past couple of years. So, yeah, Lad is definitely playable.
And then Lad or Keenan between the two.
Ooh, that's super close for me. I guess I'll go Lad, but they're kind of I'm playing a lot of double stacks. I think Lad is probably the one that I'll have a little bit more because I think he's coming in at lower ownership. I wouldn't be surprised either way how it turns out ownership wise. But yeah, I'll go slightly to no. Lad's getting more. I guess Keenan. If Lad's going to get more ownership, I'll flip it to Keenan.
I'll answer this one. Stacks asked any love for Drake May in DFS. Yes, I like Drake May. I know we didn't like talk a ton about him because it's difficult because it's just like you just like gotta play chalky digs. Like you can do Hunter Henry, I guess, but it's like it's not that fun to talk about, right? But like I think this is a good spot for Drake May. I think the price is good. The ownership is fine. It's not as low as I was hoping it would be. The week has morphed a lot over the course of the last couple of days. And then Jordan, is Alec Pierce the pivot off of that Shaheed? Your the big play, a different, cheaper big play threat. Do you prefer Alec Pierce to Shaheed?
I would only play Alec Pierce in my lineups that feature Daniel Jones. I wouldn't try to one-off pivot off of that. I think if I had to say a pivot off of it, I mean, if you could find a $300 Calvin Ridley, like he's coming in under 1% owned against the Raiders when they're supposed to lose. I don't know. That was probably the most appealing one where it's like, this guy's a real role.
I don't completely hate like a 1 in 150 Cam Ward double with Genty on the other side or Jacoby or something like that. Like the Raiders pass defense is not good. It's not very good. And they showed just enough life right last week. The Titans did. Rattler thoughts. Last question. I'll handle it. If Christian Gonzalez wasn't playing, we might have had a little deeper discussion about that. Like I think it's that impactful, but no, thank you for, especially with Taysom back is annoying for Rattler. All right, we got some flag plants, and then we're going to bring crunch time in here. Jordan, you get to go first. What is winning tournaments today? Can be a play, a stack, or whatever. The world is your oyster.
Yeah, following up from Jamar Chase as my flag plant last week with Britt hating it as soon as he come on. I can't wait to talk to him after that nonsense.
Too. Yes.
Dude just came out firing with that one. But Tucker Kraft, I think, is the tight end that scores over 25 this week, and Jordan Love throws for 4 touchdowns. I'll pair them together. I think that is my flag plant of the week.
Neil, go ahead.
Lad McConkey and Keenan Allen combine for over 40 fantasy points.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one. That's also very smart tout speak, by the way. It gives you some
Thank
nice
you.
flexibility
Exactly.
to balance
Wiggle
it out. It
room.
doesn't have to be. It's
I
40
put the number
total.
really high. That's way over
Yeah,
the
That's
projection.
true.
good.
That's true.
good.
I like it. I'm gonna go. This is like a small cop out because he's not like a mega. I didn't take as bullish of a stance as these two guys did. But Ashton Genty, like the Titans on the road, this reeks of the Bears game. Like this, the one big game Ashton Genty has had. This just feels like we just copy paste right the matchup from a run blocking perspective. We discussed that during the Bears week where the Raiders are not a very good, they don't get a lot of push up front. Ashton Genty was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage constantly before that Bears game. Bears worst in the league at yards before contact on the defensive side of the football. The Tennessee Titans 5th worst in the league amongst defenses in yards before contact allowed to ball carriers at home in like a huge spot, right? No Brock Bowers. They're going to build the plane out of Ashton Genty, and the spot is perfect. We're going to get a couple more touchdowns out of Ashton Genty. So play that guy. And the Crunch Time folks now can tell you who we said that you shouldn't play, and then you can take that with a grain of salt. Whether Britt is correct or body bagging Jordan, we'll find out this week. But let's talk to the guys. I'm sorry, Britt. I didn't do it. I wasn't going to say anything. Jordan for it. I just wanted out there.
Tried to body bag Jamar Chase. That was tough. That was tough. For me.
I was right until that fourth quarter. I mean, that garbage time counts, but the end of the game you won, but I was right for 3 quarters.
You can have the 3 quarters. It only takes 1 for Jamar Chase.
Britt was playing the first 3-quarter DFS. You were playing the full game version. Yeah,
he was playing. I was playing second half. He was playing first half.
Right. I agree. But Beer, good to see you. How are you feeling about week 6? Should be a fun day for Packer fans, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, you lose to the Browns, nothing's out of play. So I'm not counting my money yet. So feeling good though. So stepping in here and cranking out lineups, and looks like the chat's popping. So it should be a fun slate. I like that the pricing has gotten a little tighter. Not as easy to just click, make a lineup you love. So tougher decisions to make. So happy to break it down, everybody. I
agree. Chief, how are we feeling about this tournament? So I agree with what Beer said. It feels like a little bit like we can kind of flex our muscles a little bit this week, as opposed to like, oh God, how much do we have to just lock whatever Jordan Mason? It doesn't feel like one of those weeks again.
Yeah, I don't think so. Can we just go back to last week and we can just repeat that? Wouldn't that be good for you? For whatever reason, man, I nailed it last week and still didn't win. I mean, I had a good week, but got everything right. I went double tight end last week. Like I played Waller and Ferguson. I thought I was off to a monster start, and then it just, I don't know, everybody just passed me in the end. But
Darren Waller, they didn't throw it to him in the second half.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Bad.
I know, but this week I think there's some interesting spots, and then the other thing too is it feels small when it's 10 games. So I think people start overthinking their decisions. Like it doesn't feel like there's a late hammer. You don't feel like you got enough going on, and then people just start clicking the wrong buttons. I know that's like the mental side of DFS, but I think some of the obvious plays start becoming unobvious when it's small because everyone decides that they have to outsmart the field when really you don't. Just play the good plays, and it usually works out. So the bad defenses now, we're a few weeks in. The bad defenses are the bad defenses. Like I don't think you have to overthink it. Just attack them every week, and long term, I think you'll be fine. And that's what I'm doing this week. Just gonna keep attacking these bad defenses one by one.
I love it. I always want to make sure shout out. Britt is crushing it on Scores and Odds. I know Beer's over there. I know Chief is doing. Everybody's doing the Lord's work. But make sure you go check out all the stuff over at Scores and Odds. I tail every single bet that Britt puts out there. And of course, yeah, Beer. Congratulations, Brewers. Man, what a time! What a time to be alive. Gosh, what a big win last night. But we'll get out of here. Let these guys have enough time to lead you guys all the way up to lock, and we'll see you in week 7. My gosh, week 7. We'll see you next week.
I hope Erik gets some of those low tight end props that I put up probably when he was on the show over on Scores and Odds. A couple of these cheap plays we'll talk about in DFS, their sports betting lines. A little bit too low, but I'm Britt. Here with Will, my prop brother from another time. But we've got the OG, Mr. Prince, BeerMakersFan. Beer, what's going on, dude?
Not much. The chat's got it right. Partied hard last night with the Brewers. Sweated that out. So had some fun with that. I'll see if we can slay the Dodgers. But we are here to talk some football, and has been a while since I've been on a show with you guys. So Britt, good to see you, my boy Chief. Always a pleasure, my man. And let's rock, man. I really like this slate this week.
Yeah, Beer, I'll have you maybe talk a little cash games with me, sort of, maybe a little tournaments. We'll do more of the tournament stuff here. We got to go pretty quick as we progress through this with not a lot of time. First thing I want to talk about, you guys, is the weather. If we want to bring up the screen share, I got that pulled up for Mr. Roth. I'll give it a quick refresh. We've got some weather in Carolina. We've got some weather in Baltimore. Earlier in the day, Roth had these as orange, which if you follow for baseball is an alert number. Seems like it's come down a little bit. They're both yellow-orange. Both games, we might have a little bit of a wet ball, not perpetual raining, not raining too hard. Both games have 15-ish mile-per-hour winds with some gusts. Probably you're going to want to make a slight dock to the passing games in both. That's how I would do it. Beer, real quick, I'm just going to throw the weather to you. Anything you're doing here, this Dallas-Carolina game, the totals come down a point or two. Same with Baltimore. How are you adjusting to the weather?
Yeah, I'm in alignment with you. I still like the passing games in Dallas, Carolina, so I'm not knocking it too much, but certainly somewhat of a concern. And then, Baltimore, I don't know that anybody's on them, so not worried about that. And the Rams, I prefer the Kyron Williams side here this week anyway, so the weather kind of helps that. Not that Puka, Adams, Stafford can't get there, but I think they're going to control this game. We saw what this Baltimore team looks like without Lamar Jackson, and it's ugly. So if the Rams can pound the ball, I think a Kyron Rams defense pairing makes a lot of sense. So I'll have some Puka, but I'll probably be under the field on both Puka, Adams, and Stafford this week.
All right, let's jump right into quarterback. And I guess, Beer, I'll stay with you. Will's get on deck for some of your tournament thoughts here. Ownership looking pretty spread out at the top. We don't have any of those giant dual threat quarterbacks that we want to play. Josh Allen, healthy Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes is playing tonight. He's running a lot too. Daniel Jones, I don't know. We'll see about him on here. But what are we doing here? The salary is a little tighter. We've been alluding to that all morning on the show here. It's not an all-star pick'em. You can't get Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey and Puka Nacua and Tyler Warren and your best quarterback on your teams on either site today. What are a couple of your favorite quarterbacks? Mine for cash, I'm probably looking at either Trevor Lawrence or Drake May. Lawrence is running good, getting into the end zone. May has some dual threat ability. He's indoors today in New Orleans where there's going to be a fast pace there. Those are probably the two guys I'm looking at from a cash perspective. What's your mind on that?
Yeah, Drake May for me. I mean, we don't have the Lamars, the Allens, like you said, Daniels, but we have some light additions of those guys that can still put up yards on the ground in Drake May. Even if you want to go down to a Spencer Rattler, I don't hate it. He continues to put up numbers here. So if you need the savings, 70 rushing yards over the last couple of weeks. So May is the safe play for me. I think the numbers weren't quite there last week, but he looked impressive in that game. So I think we're going to continue to just see him evolve and grow. We finally saw Stephon Diggs over the last couple of weeks arrive as that true wide receiver one. So those two are both interesting to me. I think Justin Herbert looking like a guy that should be. The offensive line is certainly a concern, but this matchup with Miami is ideal. And you take Quentin Johnson out of the lineup, you have easy stacking partners there. So I know this is cash, but you can stack in cash as well. So Herbert, May, a couple of my favorites. I worry a little bit about Trevor Lawrence. I'm not as excited as the field seems to be. And one of those guys that when he's chalky, I tend to avoid him. So don't have as much there. But I think there's a lot of viable options here, Britt, to answer your question. So May's my favorite. Herbert's there as well. I think Daniel Jones is a great play. And Rattler on the cheap, I think, is intriguing this week.
Hey, Will, what for tournaments? We've got Baker and Drake May pinned as the highest ownership guys. What are we doing with some of these guys? Maybe all the guys up 10% or higher. You can give your take on Herbert, Lawrence, May, or Mayfield. You have a favorite or two from that group, Will, for tournaments?
I like Herbert just because I trust him more against this Miami defense. I'm fine with Mayfield. I actually really like Sam Darnold this week for what it's worth. On the other side of that game, he's getting no ownership. But this is a spot where I do expect this game to be competitive. And once again, small slate, everybody's gravitating towards all these other quarterbacks. And lo and behold, people want to play JSN, but they don't really want to play Sam Darnold. He could absolutely throw for 250 and 3 in this game, and then he'll be right up there with the best of them. So, I know you didn't quite ask me about him specifically, but he is a favorite tournament play of mine. If I had to choose between those top guys, once again, it is going to be Justin Herbert for me.
What about just a little bit lower, Chief Will? I do like your call on Sam Darnold. I was going to bring up even Mac Jones as a tournament sleeper. Nobody's playing him. You got Jennings back with CMC or Kendrick Bourne. I mean, we know where the ball's going to be going in that offense today. But this Dallas game, I want to get both of your takes on this. With a little bit of weather has knocked maybe some of the luster off of this game. Which side would you rather have, Chief? You want your Panthers? You want the Cowboys? Which side you want? It looks like they're about the same ownership, at least at the quarterback position.
I think either side is fine. I've been rocking with Dallas just because their defense has been so bad. They've been allowing people to score, and so as a result, they've had to score a ton of points this season. Dak Prescott has been putting up monster numbers, and with the absence of CeeDee Lamb, so is Jake Ferguson. I know we're just at quarterback, but Dak's been a staple of my tournament teams over the past few weeks, so I'm going to continue to side with Dallas.
All right. What about you, Beer, if you had to pick one side of that Dallas game?
I agree with Chief. I like both sides, to be fair, and I have some builds with both quarterbacks, but I have more Dak. I really like the matchup for him, for Pickens, for Ferguson. We'll get to it. Just sets up very schematically well for them. Rico Dowdle on the other side makes a lot of sense as a run back or Tet. So I think both sides are in play. If I got to pick one, it will be Dak in the Dallas side.
All right, and the deepest you'd go for maybe a 150 field, Beer. We had Chief mention Darnold. I'm in agreement with that. I like Mac Jones as sort of my pick. You can pile on either one of those, or you got another favorite?
No, those are two that I have a couple builds of. Mac Jones, I really like. The guy just continues to put up numbers. The worry with him, he's kind of held together right now by glue and duct tape. So one bad hit, and he could be knocked out of the game. But I love the Sam Darnold call. Early in the week, wasn't really looking at it, and the more just kind of made sense, especially with everybody on Trevor Lawrence, the Jacksonville side. Like, flip that build. That game could certainly see some scoring. And then one more we haven't hit on yet. I think Jordan Love is very interesting. I love Josh Jacobs. We're going to get to it, but ideally, this team should be able to do whatever they want today. And coming off the bye, some extra time to rest, some extra time to prepare. He's never really played a ton because you don't know who to stack him with. There's so many different ways that you can go. And I like to go to those situations when everybody else is avoiding it. So Jordan Love, very interesting here this week against the Bengals.
Packers, what's the inside scoop? Who are we stacking them with, Beer? Let's get that right out there. Who's your favorite with them?
Tucker Kraft would be my favorite stacking partner. I don't even hate throw a Jacobs in there and just gobble up all the touchdowns and really make yourself different. If I'm choosing between the receivers, I'm going to continue to roll with Matthew Golden. Just a big play waiting to happen. It's only a matter of time before they start connecting on some of these deep balls. And I know Cincinnati, they're good at kind of containing things. They don't give up a lot of deep shots, but I think Matthew Golden, Dobbs is fine as a pairing. Even Wicks should be involved today. But if I'm picking one, it's definitely Tucker Kraft in this spot.
All right, Beer, I'm going to stay with you. Running backs, the top three. You can probably throw in McCaffrey with 4. I think it's interesting. Maybe I'll just ask you this question first. You got to spend up at running back on one position if you're choosing. You can't get both of these guys in your lineups unless you do something really weird today. Would you rather Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor? Straight up, who you got today, Beer?
If we're talking DraftKings, it's going to be McCaffrey. If we're talking FanDuel, I want Jonathan Taylor for that touchdown upside. And his price, isn't easy to get him in a lineup anymore. So I think that's what's reflecting here in the ownership. This is a great spot for Jonathan Taylor, and yet he's under 20% owned. So I trust him getting more here. McCaffrey has really leaned on the passing game usage, which will be there for sure. The touchdowns have not been there. Should be a higher scoring game here, but Jonathan Taylor for me, for sure. And running back, I think there's a lot of great opportunities here. If you want to avoid the chalk, you just kind of go down another level. and we're loaded up with guys. So we'll get to that. But I think there's a lot of great options today that aren't as highly owned as they should be.
All right, Will, I'm going to pose the same question to you. Then I'm going to go back to Beer to talk a little bit more cash stuff. Straight up McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor. This is a decision a lot of people are making. You can maybe throw in Josh Jacobs. He's kind of like the consolation prize that does fit into a lot more lineups today than the two higher price guys. But who you got at the top?
It's CMC for me, just because I like the game in general. And once again, I think they're going to need to throw the ball. Tampa Bay's been just scoring gobs of points also. And I still think CMC is going to be massively involved in this running game. So I like him quite a bit. But as it stands right now in my single entry team, and I'm still building, I'm actually trying to get CMC and Jonathan Taylor. I just don't think we're going to see a lot of team jam them in today. And that's really my reason for doing it. Will it screw up my lineup construction just a bit in terms of, maybe it might limit my wide receiver upside? Absolutely. But I think it's different enough, and I think I got enough room to make it work. So I think I'm going team jam them in. If I'm siding, and I agree with Beer wholeheartedly. McCaffrey on DraftKings, Taylor on FanDuel, but currently on DraftKings, I'm trying to get them both.
Right.
Just to be way different in the field.
And while I got you, Will, your Panthers fandom, Rico Dowdle, highest owned running back today, huge performance last week. Is that repeatable? What's your real quick take on him?
I think it's repeatable because he's going to get the volume. Now, is he going for 200? I'm going to say no, but
Yeah, me too.
But the volume should be there. I mean, just last year, when we saw these other injuries, Chuba Hubbard got all the work, and so as a result, by the way, Miles Sanders is in Dallas. Now he got hurt last week too, but there's not a whole lot behind Rico. And after that performance last week, I just don't see how they don't continue to give him his opportunity that he's quite frankly taking advantage of as a starter. He got 23 carries last week. I think 17 to 18 is very reasonable. 17, 18 carries for him. That's absolutely number one bell cow running back carries in today's NFL. So I still think he's fine.
All right, just a quick note: the Colts, Charvarius Ward, he's a cornerback for them. Pre-game concussion in warmup, so he's out for the game today. So I don't know if that does anything for you for Arizona wide receiver, or maybe a Marvin Harrison or McBride. But Ward is out for the Colts at cornerback. We got Anthony Richardson slapping a band on his face, and then Ward. What's going on over there for the Colts? Anyway, Beer. Running backs for cash games, what are your considerations? Can you get to the Christian McCaffrey on DraftKings for your cash game? Are one of those two guys viable on FanDuel to you, or are you more in like the Rico Dowdle, Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Kyron Williams tier, and even Josh Jacobs, like I mentioned, as the consolation prize as we drop down from that top salary? What's got your eye?
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of options here. So cash, I feel good about Rico Dowdle. Yeah, we'll take the under on 200 and however many rushing yards from last week. But, a revenge spot here. If we have some weather like we're predicting, likely more ground game. And it's such a good matchup with Dallas for him. So he would be a lock in cash games. And if you want to get away from it in tournaments, like I said, there's plenty of ways that you can go. I mean, you can kind of skip this whole group, and I'll just highlight a few of my favorites real quick. I know we're talking cash, Britt. So Dowdle would definitely be in the cash game consideration. Mixing in a McCaffrey or Taylor, I think, is very possible. If not, you can go with a Javonte, who's just been phenomenal this season. But some other guys I really like this week. Josh Jacobs, yes, he's going to have some ownership, but such a good spot here. And we know this team wants to pound the ball. So he just looks like a good candidate for a couple touchdowns. Pair him with that expensive Packers defense that nobody wants to play in some tournaments, makes it a little bit different. But I really like Kyron Williams this week. Again, I mentioned against Baltimore, the defense is they're getting some pieces back, but the Rams should be able to do whatever they want here. So he feels a little bit light in tournaments. Ashton Genty, I really like this week, and a guy that everyone's been excited about, and nobody seems to want to play him this week. And I think it's just, a portion of, there's so many other running backs that you can play. So he's kind of going overlooked here. Achane and any Chargers stuff you can go to. And then Quinshon Judkins has looked absolutely incredible Another guy that's just kind of going overlooked here, and it's not the same Pittsburgh defense anymore. So I think he gets a big dose here today. So a lot of ways that you can avoid the Rachaad Whites, the Dowdles, if you don't want to buy into that, 30-35% ownership. Guys like Genty, Kyron, Judkins really stand out to me this week.
All right. Will, how far off of you don't really need to get, the Arizona running backs, even a Derrick Henry today, like these, I guess they could, but it's so unlikely. There's so many every down, workhorse, pass catching, touchdown making running backs today. You just look down the ownership list, and it basically stops with me with probably Judkins as players I'm really interested in tournaments. I'm not trying to go too deep. Do you have any other sleepers or anyone maybe a little lower down the ownership poll that you're interested in?
Maybe Jaylen Warren, just because he's got ability on both sides. He's actually projected pretty well today, but he's projected better than most of these running backs, but no one's playing him. And this is a game where I feel like, once again, I don't have anything against Dylan Gabriel, but welcome to the NFL, buddy. We're going to find out today. I like to attack rookie quarterbacks right out of the gate. I think the Steelers defense is a good defense today as an aside, but that's one of the main reasons I like Jaylen Warren. This could just be a spot for him to, get a few extra touches.
Yeah, the Steelers takeaway machine, turnover machine against a rookie quarterback seems like a pretty reasonable take today. All right. And time's sake, I'm going to switch from running back to wide receiver. If you guys get me up to 125 likes on YouTube, it's like 10 away. I'll get you a couple bets from Scores and Odds. 3-0 to start the week for me, plus 4 units. Just hit Justin Fields under 42 rushing yards for that. So we can keep that going. I'll give you guys a couple of bets leading up to kickoff here. Wide receiver. All right, Beer. So what's more important to you this week? Is it the Christian McCaffrey? Is it the Jonathan Taylor? Or is it the Puka Nacua or the Jackson Smith Najigba is, the consolation prize of the high targeted 100-yard plus touchdown, 1 or 2 capability wide receiver here. So if you have to choose, are you spending on the receiver on Puka today in a game with a little bit of weather, or would you rather a Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor? Again, pretty hard to get both of them on cash for either site today if you're spending.
I would prioritize the wide receivers. It's just not as good of a position. Running back, yes, McCaffrey, phenomenal. Taylor, phenomenal. But like we laid out, there's a lot of guys that can be right there with them. Save on a Josh Jacobs, save on a Kyron Williams. So maybe they don't have quite the ceiling those other 2 guys have, but I just feel better about saving there and putting that money here at wide receiver. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Puka. He's expensive. It can be a guy like JSN. I really like Ibuka today. I think he's in a good spot with all the injuries there. And then some mid-range names I think are in play. The Chargers guys, obviously, without Quentin Johnston. I prefer Lad McConkey over Keenan Allen. I think Jalen Waddle's a phenomenal play without Tyreek Hill, so he's in play this week. And then there's some cheaper options, more so for tournaments. Guys like Calvin Ridley. We talked about the Green Bay guys, but so to answer your question, yeah, I would save a little bit at running back if you need to, and prioritize some of these higher end wide receivers today.
Yeah, I think I'm prioritizing to Puka or JSN on, as a cash team and, a single entry type tournament play for me too. What about you, Chief? From a lineup building perspective, you mentioned you were trying to get higher priced running backs in on some of those. So your preference, there are a lot, the 4,800 to 6,000 tiers pretty stacked with viable options. There's going to be a lot of spread out ownership today. What's your overall lineup building? Are you spending on the running backs or do you prefer the wide receivers?
As it stands right now, I do have both running backs over 7K. I'm kind of in the mid-range at wide receiver outside of JSN in my main team, and then I'm trying to decide am I going to come off CMC to get one better receiver. That's kind of what my decision is right now, and I may even drop my defense down to make that happen, which is probably a much better thought process. And so I feel like that's where I'm going to end up. I think I'm going to come off defense go down a bit, and then try to work it back up from there. Bottom line is I think there's a lot of guys in the mid-range. I think there's a fair amount of 5K guys that are just incredibly valuable today at the wide receiver position. You talk about Ladd McConkey, who, I would say would have 8 to 10 targets. I think is a reasonable expectation today, with maybe upside for 12 if the game is a little back and forth. I'm sure Keenan Allen will have his targets also. But you talk about, these guys at the bottom here, with Juwan Jennings being back and Kendrick Bourne, we saw, the outbreak he had. Maybe that continues with between him and Mac Jones. Matthew Golden just continues to get all kind of opportunities. Chris Olave, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, much lower targets, I think, than some of these guys, but does still have the big playability. Ladd, Stephon Diggs, who finally seems to be back to being a number one receiver at 5,800. He's picking up a fair amount of ownership. But I'm saying all that to say, and then don't forget about my boy McMillan. I'm not as high on Carolina, I think, as everybody, but you can't overlook the volume he's getting most games. Like, he's getting real volume, and Jalen Waddle. Like, he's 6,100. He's still going to get volume. I'm saying all that to say there are tons of options in this 5K, 6K range that just aren't going to get played consistently enough. And I'm planting my flag on some of those guys.
If you go with like 2 of those in a cheapie, that gets you your 1 or even 2 expensive running backs in the lineups.
Yep.
All right, Beer, I'm going to hit you with some questions. I think a lot of people are deciding this guy or that guy. First, Keenan Allen or McConkey. I think you were on McConkey. Question to you. Can you play both in cash on DraftKings today?
You can. It's not my favorite build. Tournaments, it's certainly viable. And I would even throw a little Trey Harris into that player pool. I think he's the guy that will step in and play some more snaps in place of Quentin Johnston. So I don't love that in cash.
Right.
But tournaments, I certainly do. And I prefer Ladd over Keenan.
All right, so Ladd or Diggs for 200 more. You got to make a choice there. Who you got?
I will go with Diggs. I like what I'm seeing here. And so Diggs for me there.
All right, and
let me ask my question. I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Ladd or Ridley?
It's Ladd, but I really like Ridley too, especially in tournaments at his ownership. If we're talking cash games, it's Ladd easy. If we're talking
and I'm talking tournaments.
Yeah, I love the Ridley-Genty pairing in that game. Genty's in such a good spot. Ridley, we finally saw, what we heard about all summer, the connection with Cam Ward. And it's not a daunting matchup with this Raiders team. So not saying play Cam Ward, but I think Ridley too cheap and going to be, 2-3% owned.
All right. And then do you prefer Olave or Juwan Jennings? I guess we don't know how healthy Juwan Jennings is, but who you got between those two? $300 difference on DraftKings.
Cash would be Olave. I think it's just a safe target floor. And tournaments, I love Jennings. I think that's another very low-owned play. Should step right back into that number one role. You have the risk of re-injury, of course, but we don't play scared around here. So give me Jennings in tournaments.
And then one final one, Beer. Cash, are you messing around with any of the cheap Tampa Bay receivers, Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard for cheap, or are you basically avoiding them for cash and leaving them for tournaments?
Avoiding them for cash. I do like them in tournaments, and I actually prefer Tez. Should be lower owned, and I think he's got a level of upside that we just haven't seen yet that may hit today in this game with Baker.
All right, so that should hopefully answer some of the questions you guys would be having. Those are the ones I had myself personally. Hopefully that can help you make a couple of decisions. And real quick, Will, any deep sleepers? I know Beer said Golden. I think Dobbs too. Dobbs is the touchdown machine. So if Golden gets there, for 4 for 102 and a touchdown, Dobbs gets there for 5 for 75 and 2 touchdowns, Beer. So those are probably, I like Dobbs as a low on play, gives you leverage off Jacobs too. Good with your, I think Kraft will be a little popular too. But, Will, what are you looking at? I think a couple of my favorite would be a Juwan Jennings, a Kendrick Bourne. I do like Mac Jones a little bit too. I mentioned Dobbs. Anyone you're looking at for lower ownership in that sub-10, sub-5% owned tier?
No, it would probably just be the Tampa Bay guys. So that, and Tez Johnson in particular, I agree. Like, I'd much rather prefer the guy that can catch a 30, 40-yard touchdown than the guy that's got to get 5 catches around the line of scrimmage.
All right. I'm going to throw in one more. Travis Hunter looks pretty interesting too. That Seattle secondary reasonably banged up today. All right.
I got a couple I want to add.
Oh, sure. What do you got?
Rashid Shaheed, I think,
Oh,
a
yeah.
great
Oh,
spot.
yeah,
we
for sure.
saw those guys connect on a long one, so he's not quite sub 5%, but low owned. Everyone's excited about Olave. Rashid's the big play guy in that lineup. And then the other side of that one, Keyshawn Booty, going back to Louisiana, born there, played at LSU. A way to make your, if you want to go May Diggs, a lot of ownership, you can tack him on and kind of save some ownership that way. He's had some big games. I know it's been ugly, but he's one other big play guy that nobody wants to play today. So really like him in this spot.
I'd almost say if you had the stone, Shaheed over Olave in cash, I forgot to even mention that. I know every projection system is going to tell you not to, but I am a big believer in Shaheed today, Beer. I probably won't do that because if it goes wrong, it's basically an L for you in cash.
Oh, yeah. It's tough in cash for sure. But he's always one of my favorite tournament plays.
Yeah,
that upside is
love
massive.
That call. I'll appreciate you bringing him up. Great play today. Let's go to tight end. Interesting, Beer. I'm going to stay with you for tournament or for cash. When salary gets tough on DraftKings and even on FanDuel, we have Michael Mayer, 3,100. We have Hunter Long at 2,500. We have Tommy Tremble, who disappointed last week, but the week before had like 15 fantasy points at 2,600. When salary gets tough, one of the first things you do on DraftKings is who are the cheap tight ends, sometimes even playing guys that aren't even in full-time roles. This week, we have a plethora, 3 or 4 guys in full-time roles of $3,100 or less. What maybe makes some sense from the cheap guys, because these are guys you could be using today. Do you prefer them, or do you prefer spending up to the Jake Ferguson, Tyler Warren tier, maybe even a Tucker Kraft, to be able to get a Puka Nacua, to be able to get a Christian McCaffrey in your lineups, to be able to get maybe a Drake May? Are you willing to sacrifice the tight end to get those guys, or do you want one of the tight end and maybe take a step down at other positions?
I'm okay going cheap at the tight end position. I think we have a few viable options here. So I'll start at kind of the higher end of that. Darren Waller has been phenomenal, and it's a very limited sample, but I don't know what this guy has to do to get some respect here. So we all love the Chargers. We expect them to put on points here, but Darren Waller seems to kind of be forgotten about. So he's interesting. If I'm going super cheap in cash, even though the matchup's not great, the Titans have been phenomenal against tight ends, and this goes back to last season. They've been one of the better teams. Michael Mayer would be the play for me. I know there's a lot of people excited about Hunter Long. He feels like that classic touchdown or bust tight end. Maybe his role expands a little bit here, but he is not Brenton Strange. So I'm not overly excited about Hunter Long this week. So going cheap, it would be Michael Mayer. If I'm paying up, I think McBride on FanDuel looks very appealing. The prices come down over there, and Ferguson is shot up to 7K. DraftKings, I would continue to roll out Ferguson. The targets, just a PPR machine over on DraftKings. So price is fair there. FanDuel, I feel he's a little bit overpriced. Not that he's not in play, but it's a nice discount to get to Trey McBride. And some may be, wow, we got Jacoby Brissett. Maybe a damn upgrade for this offense, because Kyler has not been good. So McBride's just too cheap over there. And then you have, we talked Tucker Kraft, really like him as well. Warren's been phenomenal in that offense. So, but to answer you, I think you can go cheap just to give you more upside at the running back wide receiver position.
Yeah, we need it this week. It's not like last week where it was a pick'em contest. All right, Will, tournaments, how are you handling this? Ownership is reasonably spread out. We have the high-end guys that have been good. We have some low-end guys on the come-up. What's your preference?
But let me just say, last week I played Darren Waller, and it paid off. Boy, if he could have got some extra work. He's 4K. There's still no Tyreek Hill. Last I checked, Tyreek Hill will not be back for a while. He's a part of this offense. This is not the offense of old in terms of sparingly using the tight ends. They actually need his production if they're going to be competitive. Give me Darren Waller at 4K. At once again, coming to that minor ownership after all the work he's getting. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm playing him. I'm also on Jake Tongas. I think at 3.7K, same game, similar enough situation where, man, we just seem to be overlooking guys that, in a sense, and I'm air quoting here, have to get some version of pass work. Same thing for Jake Ferguson. So, I think if we're comfortable playing Jake Ferguson, we should be comfortable playing these other guys in the same area. And the ownership is spread out. This is the first week I almost feel like I don't even need to consider Trey McBride. Hands up, I just don't think I even need to play him this week, which could come back to bite me. But I think these other guys are just as good. So that's what I'm doing.
All right, let me get you guys a couple of bets here real quick from Scores and Odds. Again, starting the week off 3-0 for +4 units. One of my favorites you can still get. Head over to FanDuel. I scoped out the best line for you. Jaylen Warren under 11.5 longest rush. Doesn't even have one this year, and now he's got to go against the Browns for under 11.5. Looks like that. I also worry he's going to split some time with Gainwell. I'm very anti Jaylen Warren projections this week from the Blitz, from the RotoGrinders, from basically the industry. I think Warren's not going to get that full-time role, especially not in the run game. So I love Warren's under. And if you're looking for something probably this morning, Tommy Tremble also, while you're on FanDuel.com, has the best line for him, 19.5 yards against the Cowboys. He's going to be in basically a full-time role. Xavier Legette doesn't do much. Maybe the weather prevents some of those longer passes down the field to Tet. Tremble for 19.5. Both of those on FanDuel. Go get those. Those are probably, everything else has moved too much for me to really recommend, but go get those. Real quick, Beer, defense. Give me like 30 seconds. Do you like the Packers and Steelers? Do you like the Raiders, or do you like the Dolphins for cheap, to basically get some of these other guys you want today?
So mid-range, a couple teams. I really like the Rams against the Ravens. I really like the Colts against the Cardinals, and my cheapie is Cleveland against Pittsburgh.
All right, Will, what's your tournament exposure look like?
For defense, correct?
Yep.
A whole lot of Steelers, a whole lot of Packers, a whole lot of Colts.
If the Steelers come in at 4% owned, I know the Packers are the highest owned. That looks like a good swerve from a tournament perspective. Beer, do you think is Green Bay worth the price in cash games today, or are you going a little lower?
I think you should save there. It is a good spot, but we wanted to crown them as the greatest defense ever, and then they lose to Joe Flacco. They give up 40 to Dallas. So yes, it's a good spot. I don't think it's a necessary spend in cash. And defense is so random. Save the money. Hopefully you get that random pick six, the fumble. It's just so tough to predict defense. I don't think it's worth spending here. Save the money. Go with one of these cheap teams. Even Miami, is in play. So there's plenty of ways you can go. New Orleans, New England. I don't think you need to spend there.
All right, we'll try to get some questions. Sorry, guys, we got all this somehow done in like 30 or 40 minutes. We'll try to get a couple of questions here to end the show. I'm in the Discord real quick. I'll go to YouTube in just a second. FanDuel tournament. You're Mr. FanDuel. Beer, we'll throw this to you. Rams or Colts? You got to pick one today.
What do you mean? To win?
Defense. No, yeah, defense.
Defense. Okay. I am going with the Rams.
All right. Single entry, DraftKings. Chief, I'll throw this to you. Hunter Long with Jonathan Taylor, or Ferguson and Junkins, or Kyron Williams and Kraft. So take your pick.
Williams, Kraft.
Williams and Kraft. I think that's a good one too here. Falcor wants to know, I'm going to assume this is a tournament, Mayfield in Miami or Lawrence in Indianapolis. Maybe that's a cash. I'm not exactly sure. Beer, if you had to choose, who you got there? Mayfield in Miami, Lawrence, and Indy.
I'm going to go with Mayfield.
All right. Beer, let's go with you. We've been handling cash this show. We've got Allen in the Titans D, so Keenan Allen and Titans, or McConkey in Miami. What's your preference there?
I'll go with Ladd in that one.
All right. I would too, and I think that is acceptable to use a receiver against the defense, just with how banged up the Chargers line is and how how good McConkey's projection should be today.
I think that's an archaic rule. Like, should you try to force that? No, but it can be beneficial. I mean, Miami causes a turnover. Guess what? They get the ball right back, and they're back on the field again. So it's not something you seek out, but people avoid it too much, in my opinion.
All right, Javonte and Ferguson. This is DraftKings cash. So Beer, or Christian McCaffrey and Jacoby Myers.
I will go with the first set. I think Meyer's an interesting bounce back in tournaments. Should be very low owned, but I'll go
Sounds
with
like
the first set.
That would probably be Mayer, I think. So it'd be C-Mac and Mayer or Javonte and Ferguson. That'd be Javonte and Ferguson for me, for sure. I think that's what he was trying to get at here. Let's see. Dolphins defense for DraftKings. It's like the cheapest one. It's you're going to see a lot of quick passing from the Chargers today. I don't think you'll see a lot of run game. That's why we like guys like McConkey. They can still get there, but I think very quick passing from the charge. If I was in charge, that's what I'd be trying to dial up from the play calling position today. So it's reasonable on weeks when you have to save salary. The first place you go, tight end. What's the cheapest viable tight end? Defense. What's the cheapest viable defense? That's going to be the Dolphins, and that's going to be like a Michael Mayer. I know Beer was a little lower on Hunter Long. You've got a Tommy Tremble, those type of players, and even like a Darren Waller to maybe like the next step up at the tight end position. Let's see if we can get a couple more. Hunter Long, would you play Hunter Long, Beer, to get both Puka and CMC on your cash team today?
To accomplish that, yes. I poo-pooed him a little bit, but if it's going to open some things up, I absolutely in favor of that.
Yeah, I would definitely say yes on that. I actually do have Hunter Long on my DraftKings cash team, debating switching it to Michael Mayer and trying to switch a couple other things around, but not sure if I'm going to be able to get to that right now. Let's see, Stevenson or Henderson. Some more a tournament play. Will, you got to pick a running back from the Patriots. More of a low own. There's so many bell cow running backs that we know are going to get the usage today. One, would you be messing with that? And then two, pretend you are. What's your preference?
Not Stevenson. He's one fumble away from not playing.
I agree.
Are we sure about that? He always seems that it doesn't matter over there with his fumbles. But man,
I know, but I can't, man. I can't.
Let's see here. Looks like we're starting to run out of questions. Beer, you got a favorite bet or anything like that you're looking at today?
I like Spencer Rattler's rushing yards. Seems too low. It's gone up a little bit from when I put it in. I still think it's viable, though. He's been active on the ground, feeling more confident. So, yes, Taysom's there to steal some things away, but I like that one a lot. Kyron Williams, another one I like his rushing over today.
All right, here's one from Kevin. This is FanDuel Cash. Beer, I'm going to ask you this one. Jonathan Taylor and McConkey or Josh Jacobs and Ibuka?
Jacobs and Ibuka.
That one's pretty close for me. I'd say
it's very
both,
close.
I'd say both are correct. That's where one of those
can't go wrong
something
there.
like that you want to be. That's a good problem to have today. All right, we're going to be at lineup lock by the time you guys hear us talking. Thanks to everybody for watching. Click the like button on the way out. Hopefully your bets come through today. I gave you 2. Chief gave you 1. Will, real quick, you got anything these people can get in real quick, either live or maybe later in the day?
Man, I just if you can get to it, a lot of these Dallas receivers I took under yards, like the secondary guys, Tolbert, Flanoy. I took under yards in that game because I do think, once again, I like Dallas. Don't get me wrong, but I live on the East Coast. It's been raining all day since yesterday, and it has not stopped. So and I'm in Charleston, not Charlotte, so I'm actually by the coast. But if it's raining anything near what it's been the past few days for us, then the passing game is going to take a hit somewhat. So I like that. Yeah, I went with some low ball unders on guys that just haven't been getting the ball. So we'll see.
All right, so that's going to do it for this show. Hit the like button on the way out. Beer, thanks for coming in. Oh yeah, you can get an NFL 3-day passing build lineups through the weekend for just $9.99. You can check that out. Maybe remember that for next week. If it's still active, check it out a little bit. But you can check out all the things here at RotoGrinders, the SimLabs I showed, everything fun like that. 3-day pass, $9.99. Who wouldn't want to do that to be able to get access to all of this, all the articles, things like that. So check that out. Hit the like button on the way out. For Beer, for Will, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out.